Alrighty, welcome back. The reboot is on. I appreciate everybody stopping by. Should be any second now. I'll get back in Mad Bison and Tim here. Welcome, welcome. We are off and kicking. For those who don't know, the Earth is censored. So here we are, get it while it's hot. Let's go ahead and give myself some likes here. Appreciate everybody stopping by. Alrighty. Mad Bison is back. Hey brother, welcome back.
What's up, Tribune?
Not a whole lot, man. I've got a wicked thunderstorm in the background.
It was horrible here yesterday.
I'm hoping it don't take my whole internet out. I'm struggling with this freaking old laptop. It's ridiculous. You know what quote I'm talking about, right?
Oh, say again?
Do you know what quote I'm talking about with the NASA engineer that said there was no way to tell the difference between the real thing and the simulations?
I'm not. I don't think so. I'm not familiar with that.
Gotcha. Man, I'm definitely gonna have to pull that up. If I can't get it up today, I'm gonna put it up on a quote for my page.
Yeah, I'm still kind of new to the flat Earth theory. I'm still learning and broadening my horizons that aren't so cool.
Right, as much as you can.
Exactly.
I mean, I get the skepticism. Don't get me wrong. Like, I get the people who are skeptical of it, but at the same time, it's like, and then the evidence is just overwhelming. And then when you see all the evidence of the lie, it's like, my God, you have to look at that. I mean, why would they do so much to try to twist the way we see reality if there wasn't something to it? So.
Yeah, I went down that rabbit hole and oh man, the lies after lies after lies.
Yeah, it's absolutely unreal. I hope they're not shadow stomping me here. Because it was pretty easy to get up to 200 viewers last week. But we will.
Oh, they'll come in soon.
Oh yeah, for sure. The problem is when I type in simulation, Google immediately takes me to, are we living in a simulation? And it's like, because that's an okay conspiracy. You know, you're allowed to think that, you're allowed to have questions on if you live in a simulation. You're allowed to question the JFK assassination. You're allowed to question, what's another really good one? You're allowed to question if Bigfoot is real.
No.
But if you think that the simulation we're living in is flat, get the hell out.
We're idiots.
Yeah.
We're idiots.
It's insane. There was actually a pyramid that conspiracy that was like it had the anti-Semitic point of no return. So if you believe in flat Earth, you're an anti-Semite. You hate Jews.
Oh my God.
I'm like, how is that not a slur? How is saying that someone's a racist not a slur?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
It's.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Do you know the Jeranism channel?
What's the channel?
Jeranism.
I think I've heard of it. I haven't been there. I was just watching all of what's his name? Ewaranon?
Oh yeah,
Have you heard of him?
AE War.
Yes.
He's pretty interesting. If you go on YouTube and you look at Jeranism, he does a lot of really good stuff. Especially his older videos are a lot of like tech stuff. a lot of Globers don't understand that. Yeah, we are definitely working this model out as we go. So, explain tides dopes. Explain selective tides dope. Jesus Christ. All right. Where is Okay, we got another one. This is Dirty McBirkin. Let's see what Dirty McBirkin has for us.
So, buddy,
What's up, man? Welcome to the stream.
How's it going, man?
what? Not much, buddy. How you doing?
Pretty good.
I'm wondering. I was just kind of. I just scrolled in and I seen that it says he Earth. Is that he Earth is censored?
No, it's the
Um.
on mine it says the, so I'm sorry if it squeezed it out.
Okay. Got you. What is it? What? So, is it about the flat Earth idea?
Yeah, that's kind of the
Is
main
that a
theme of it.
concept?
But it's not just the Earth. There's all the conspiracies are pretty well censored except for the approved ones. But yeah, I'm not sure how familiar you are with this whole topic, but back when not even that long ago, a couple years, when Flat Earth was really starting to blow up, the heads of YouTube, I can't remember her name, was a lady, was actually in front of Congress, and they were like, "Well, what are you going to do about the flat Earth videos and and all this stuff?" And that's when they announced that they were going to be changing the algorithms and really messing with us. And other platforms have obviously followed suit. I mean, I can't remember the guy's name who does. There's another huge flat Earth channel on here. I think he's on his third channel. um,
Hmm.
and then yeah, so there's a lot of conspiracy channels that are getting throttled. So, but yeah, Earth is censored. I actually made this graphic a while back on my green screen Earth Instagram, but I thought it was very fitting because last week I was in on a live, and we'd been in it for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and then it just kicked me. My internet was great, but I tried to get back in, it wouldn't let me back in. I tried to get back in the next day, it wouldn't let me back in. So I decided to lay off for a little bit, and
Wow.
managed to test it out a day ago or 2 days ago. Found out it was working again, and then I set this up for today. So we're seeing how it goes and being a little careful, but um, we're hopeful. And these ideas, they do deserve to get spread. It's the marketplace. I'm not going to be one to tell you what you have to believe, but I definitely think that if uh, if an idea is so dangerous that it has to be censored, then there's probably something to it.
Might be some value to it, right? Exactly. I understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's quite a bit of value to it. I just, you can't really. I can't put my finger on it because I can't. I can't exempt. There's no way of exemplifying it. We don't have the methods. Most of the people that could show that or explain that point, I think, don't have the tools. You know, like NASA or other organizations that we don't have. That way, a way of or a method of testing that we could really go into it on a deeper level.
Right. There's no way to. A great way to think about it is that there's really no way scientifically to prove the cosmological model that the mainstream is using.
Right, right. It wouldn't make sense anyway. It doesn't make any sense, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's for sure. I love the fact that they try to say we're moving in like five different directions and we don't feel none of it. but Coriolis, but
Yeah.
Coriolis is still there. So it's like, well, wait, which is it? Do we feel it? Do we not feel it? Does it have an effect? Does it not have an effect? What the hell's going on with that?
Right. A bunch of crazy stuff going on, man. I swear it's a difficult concept, I think, for me to wrap my head around. But at the same time, I mean, I know that with my I think that God, made things simple enough that your common sense, you should be able to deduce the cosmological principles with your common sense, at least to enough to live, enough to feel comfortable.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as far as what we can see, observe, and test, I mean, it definitely seems like we're flat stationary.
Right, right. I would agree. Okay, well, yeah. I just wanted to know what you guys were thinking. I'll hop out.
Oh, you're fine, man. We
Appreciate
appreciate
it,
you
man.
having you on.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the hate in the comments, guys. Just keep it coming. It feeds me. I'm actually I do have troll energy, and I fully acknowledge that. So feel free to feed it. So anyway, I wonder if I'm not really one to constantly debate and stuff. I've had a lot of debating, and if anybody does have good points, you're feel free to jump into the guests, and we can have a conversation. But I stopped drinking the tap water. That's actually funny. I'm actually a water salesman, so I know get ready to, oh, you chill, chill, chill. Yeah, I chill for clean water, so I don't drink tap water at all. I actually convince other people who are dumb enough to drink it to stop. So yeah, I would say maybe you should stop bathing in it though, because that also will affect you. So yeah, you stop bathing in that stuff, and it's crazy. It's just like when you started drinking bottled water for the first time or purified water. It's like night and day. Research the 8-point plan of Pearl Harbor. Matt Bison, I don't know if you're still there. I can't hear you if you're trying to talk. So
Yeah, I'm here. I just didn't want to interrupt you when you were talking.
oh, you're fine. I'm just filling the time. So
I got you. Oh man, well, I guess the Globies don't want to come in here.
it's okay.
But
That's okay. I had there was Dearth dropped a video where they were flying a plane and the stars were still just doing their normal like rotation in the sky. And their point
right,
was that if the plane is moving across the Earth, like, and let's say it is like just 600 miles an hour, the stars should come back up into view. Well, I commented on it and I was like, let's see Globies explain this. And sure enough, within like an hour probably, Globy McGlobeface commented. He was like, "Well, it's obviously the plane is moving 600 miles per hour, and the it's moving the same direction as the Earth is, so therefore the stars aren't doing that." And I was like, "Well, if that was the case, the stars wouldn't be doing that. Their normal, seemingly normal rotation." So
right. I did see that video today. I did.
yeah, it's pretty cool. That's
Yeah.
when we start trying to judge the Earth by the lights in the sky, I think we're in for a world of hurt. I think we're gonna get messed up pretty bad on that. Yeah. Um, my goodness, explain the Ponzo illusion. I'm not even familiar with that. What is the Ponzo illusion? And while you're explaining that, I would like to know which way are the storms supposed to spin due to Coriolis effect? In the north, it's supposed to go clockwise or counterclockwise? Because I think there's something weird going on with that. I think the storms are spinning the wrong way, but I could be mistaken. See, that's the difference between me and a lot of globe earthers is that globe earthers never want to admit when they're wrong, and we've
Oh.
already had to admit that we were wrong. We all believed the same thing. We all believed in the flying space ball, in the evolution from chimp, uh, you know,
They act like we
theories.
all didn't go to school too.
Yeah, exactly.
We all got the same education.
100%. Same indoctrination.
Exactly.
Absolutely. The sun looks huge on the horizon. Oh, that's because of the refracted light. It's like a magnifying glass. So we can actually show that. Rob Skiba, I can't remember what his website is, but you can go to his website and they actually sell a little like experiment that you can do where you can actually see the Chicago skyline and you can slide a boat back or your eye level back and you can see how things would disappear bottom up and how suns would set, moons would set, all this good stuff that people think is only possible on a ball. It's a really good tool for opening your mind up and seeing that, there is another way that it can be done. So, y'all believe in Earth. Yeah, I mean, we're here, aren't we? Well, maybe maybe we're the ones who's like, it's all just a dream. Nobody's really here. Oh God, no one can prove me wrong. Maybe so. There are some things that just can't be proven with science, unfortunately. But I think the Earth can be. I think that we can isolate some variables and we can see what's going on. But I might get attacked for that too. Who knows? I'm actually starting to believe that the reason why this whole stuff was, came out, got so popular so fast, and then started to get censored, started to get downplayed, is because they want us all fighting over stuff. just all the different ways that they can divide us up to keep control in the hands of the few. But that's not to say that we shouldn't talk about these things and make sure that the truth is known and the fuckery is known. For all you guys in the chat who are just kind of joining up, there is no good scientific evidence of the spinning spaceball. And I'm using those words very directly, very deliberately. There's no way to 100% prove it at this point in time. So that may change, then we may get some technology that maybe, I'm always open to the idea that I can be wrong about stuff, but there, like I said in previous streams, there just have to be so much, there would have to be so much misunderstood and so much backwards in order for the spaceball to be true.
Oh, yeah.
It's comical. You can literally buy a ticket to space if you're rich. It is very comical that you would rely on the faith of rich people because they totally have your best interests in mind. They would never lie to you. They would never do anything like that. So you can enjoy your dream because there's no way you're not asleep with that belief. Is the Earth flat? I think it is. I think it's measurably flat and stationary. I think it's pretty easy to show that and pretty hard to disprove it. The only evidences, so-called evidences, are all optical model-based, begging the question, reinforcement fallacies. Pyramid scam. Yep, for sure. The pyramids line up with the same stars for thousands of years, folks. That's impossible on the heliocentric model. It's absolutely impossible. Please feel free to share this with your closest globe friends if you feel that there's some people who need woke up, or if you feel that there's just some people who need to school us. Feel free to share it. Get them in the box. Get them in the comments. We'd love to have them. Right now, I only got 3 shares, and there's like 253 of you. So if I could just get even half of you to share the show, that'd be fantastic. Let's get this thing up here. I'll go ahead and give myself some hearts here also. Why the lie? How many times do we get that question? I think the most common questions that we get are, why would they lie about it? What evidence actually has you believing that the Earth is flat? And what's the other one? It's always really, really common. It escapes me. I'm having a brain fart. Explain star rotation. Explain. If the Earth were flat, every country would have the same 9 a.m. time. You would be correct if the sun were still really, really far and huge, but it's not. It's small and local, and the time zones actually make a lot more sense with the flat Earth than the globe Earth. Actually, if you look at the time zone map, I think there's more than 24 time zones, and one of them does like crazy zigzag stuff. It makes 0 sense on a globe. Yeah, so people should really look into that stuff before they go in and try to, make dumb points. So, explain satellites, please. Okay, if they must be real, if we can't say that they're fake, and they must be real, then they're high altitude planes. Checkmate. You got nothing. Why can computer simulators work and predict things with all our data? You'd have to tell me which one.
Hey, did you hear the theory about why they took, or not theory, or the conspiracy of why they took out square windows out of planes?
I have not heard that one.
They said they because they're like round now.
Right, and
that's
only one
reason
company
why.
makes all the windows, right?
Exactly, and that's one reason why people in the window say, "Oh, it's curving." Well, it's because of the window. It's definitely because of that window shape. And they said they changed it to that type of window because it was more plane crashes because of the square windows.
Wow. Mafia77, just to answer your question real quick, why the lie? We don't know for sure specifically. We can't go to Antarctica to check out if there's more land or something, but it could very well just be a matrix of thought. Imagine this, I'm not sure if you support Christianity or not, but I'm guessing that you don't, which is fine. I'm actually not a Christian either. But you should be easy to understand how a mode of thought or a world belief can shape the way that you see things and the way that you think about things and discern things. So, I would say the most, probably one of the biggest reasons why to lie is that it gets you to deny your obvious senses and put your faith into authority. That way, when they come out with you with other bullshit, you will accept it. That's my opinion. Mad Bison, do you have any opinions on why they would lie about it specifically? Have you heard anything cool with that?
To hide the creator. That's what I think. To hide the firmament. That's why we can't go to Antarctica.
I think that's definitely possible. I think that's definitely possible. You know, when you look at, I'm actually, it's pretty funny. I might lose some followers over this, but I really don't care because everybody's entitled to their own beliefs, you know. But if we step into the don't read too late, two kids, probably a third one on the way, checkmate, ha. Um, anyway, sorry. I just some of these comments they catch me, and I just love to read them. So seriously, guys, the trolls. I know you don't believe me, but I seriously I love you. So I feed off that stuff. But anyway,
They won't come in here and talk. That's all.
that's fine. You know, if you don't want to troll in the box, you know that's fine. Can't be as popular as people like Alex Stein and shit. You know. So, but yeah, the I think the idea that there's a creator is a valid one. You know, with us being at the center of the universe and all that, it's like it really does make you think. As far as like who that creator is, I'm not going to be narcissistic enough to say that I know for sure which one it is or all that. If anything, it might be a combination of all of it. You know, I think this idea that God's all this separate stuff is probably foolish. You know, because if there was, you know, if we're talking about a creator or a creative force or whatever have you, you know, it's probably just in all things, just always present. You know, it would be stupid to say that, oh, God's not this or God's not that, which is what you're saying when you're saying that God is this or God is that, if that makes sense. Um, Flat model is okay, but falls apart under logic. Well, if you have some good points, awesome. If you have enough followers, go ahead and jump in the guest box. Love to hear some of your logic behind it. But I don't think that there's too much. I think that it's reification fallacy. It's begging the question. I think if you were to take raw observations and not assert prior that there was a globe, you know, I do wonder what conclusion a lot of people would come to. I think they'd come to the conclusion that we're flat and stationary because that's what we observe. Flat Earth can't make a model. It's literally impossible since it won't match reality. I would just respond that you guys don't have a model that matches reality. Your guys' literal globe says right on them, not for navigation purposes. So you don't have an accurate model. You just don't. You think you do, but it has problems, and that's what we're pointing out. So, no, we don't have a perfect map. Nobody does. No, we don't have a perfect model. Nobody does. We're simply
Hey, I think
debunking. Right. We're simply debunking the
Astronomy's in the guest
mainstream.
box. We got a guy in the guest box.
Oh, nice. Let's see what we got. Oh, nice. Astronomy. I wonder what kind of channel he is. Hey, welcome to the stream.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, I
Listen,
appreciate you
fellas,
coming on.
look. So I'm an astronomer, and I'm an astrophotographer, and all I do is spend every night that's clear outside imaging the universe. And you know, I've got a ton of gear and a ton of experience, and I'm telling you without a shadow of a doubt that you're deeply, deeply wrong. And it's so easy to dismantle your model. I mean, there's a million ways I could do it, but the one that resonates the most with me is that depending on where you are in the world, facing the northern hemisphere, Polaris will be at a different point in the sky, higher up in latitude or lower down towards the horizon. The only conceivable way that that's possible is if you're on a sphere. Not only that, but I mean, I have literally imaged the stars rise up in a curved orbit up and over the top of the planet. If we were flat, and they were rotating, they would go in circular patterns above our head, flat like a disc. Nothing that you're saying is even remotely accurate. And if you go to the southern hemisphere, you will see entirely different constellations than you will in the northern hemisphere. Moreover, tides work because the moon is tugging on our oceans, and as the earth rotates through that bubble that's created, you experience high and low tide. And there's a higher one on the side that's nearest to the moon and a lower high tide on the side that's opposite the moon. And this is like basic, well understood physics. And you
So
guys are you're so deeply off, it's not even funny.
nice. So, Astronomy, I have a quick question. First question is, do you think we've never heard this argument before?
You definitely have never refuted it because you can't.
Okay,
It's irrefutable.
let me go
This
ahead
is
and refute it right
objective
now.
reality
Then
we're
let me
talking
go ahead
about.
and refute it right now. I thought you were going to give me something to
Okay.
make me think. Jeez. Now, let me first, before I even go on, I will level with you. There are some observations in the sky that are really hard to account for the flat Earth. So I'll fully acknowledge
Yeah,
that.
because it's fucking wrong.
No, you can say that. You're entitled to your opinion. But here's
It's not
the
an
facts of the
opinion,
matter.
it's an objective fact.
Here's the facts of the matter. The second question that I have before I get into that is, have you ever taken an art class before?
Have I ever taken a what?
Have you ever taken an art class?
Yeah, I've taken an art class.
No, seriously. Like, it's not a joke. Have you taken an
Yes,
art class?
of course I have.
Okay, so how do you
I'm
not get...
extremely well educated.
So how do you not get that things that are further away from you drop towards the horizon? Because your
You're talking
idea...
about drawing.
Hold on. I'm addressing your claim. Your claim is that because Polaris appears at a different point in the sky, depending on where you're at in the Earth, that proves the sphericity of Earth. How does that
Yes, it
prove
does.
that you're just in a different spot in relation to the star?
Because the way that the stars travel around Polaris would not happen if it was just a flat Earth and you were looking at it from a distance. The angles wouldn't change so dramatically. Your ability to perceive things is completely hysterically wrong. Like I just actually feel a little bit
I would
bad for
love
you.
to see you demonstrate this difference that you're talking
I'd
about,
be happy to.
because
I have tons and tons of posts that will just absolutely blow you out of the water. Just with simple, basic geometry, I can prove you wrong. All you have to do is climb to the top of a high building and measure the angular distance down to the horizon. You can use cosine or tangent to then measure the circumference of the Earth. This is like
no, you can use
day one
cosine.
high school geometry.
You can use cosine and tangent to measure the presupposed curvature of the Earth, but
No, not the presupposed.
you can
There's
also
only
use
one way
you can also
math
use
works.
cosine and tangent to do celestial navigation over a flat plane over the Earth. So again, if your
No, you
only
can't.
evidence,
No, you can't.
yes,
No,
you
you
can.
can't. It's
Euclidean
so clear to me
geometry.
that you've
You're
never
obviously
actually taken a
unfamiliar
math
with...
class that it's funny.
Well, no, so you're obviously unfamiliar
It's
with Euclid
very obvious
geometry,
to me.
which is
Hey,
fine.
Tribune.
It's absolutely
Tribune.
fine if you're not familiar. I would just recommend you do more research before, coming on.
Do more research. You have clearly not been
But
like
I will
Tribune.
educated.
say,
Hey,
if your only evidence is simply the lights in the sky, you really don't.
That's
The lights in
not
the
it. I
sky will
just
never
explained to you
determine
that
the shape of the floor.
tides only work in one way. Tides only work in one way. They don't work in a flat Earth. How would
Explain
the
it.
tides work? I just did.
No,
The
you
moon
said
is
what it
tugging.
was. No, explain the tides and how it works.
Explain the tides.
Yeah, why do
Okay,
hey
we have a
guys,
tide on the
you
other
before y'all
side
realize
of
go.
the
that there's
moon,
high
dude?
and low tides,
Why
right?
do
Have
we
you ever
have
seen the ocean before?
Hey, before y'all go at it, I want you to bring Trey in. I'm about to leave. Okay, Trey's in the guest box.
Oh, sorry. Sure.
All right, cool.
I get in the conversation. I stop checking the guest box. My bad.
Oh, you're straight. Astronomy. Do you know what the Asgardian effect is?
No, I don't even know what that is.
Okay, well then you can't say that the moon is the cause of any type of tide on the Earth until you know what the Asgardian effect is, or the Alley effect. Both of those are related to the actual structure of the ice and the salt variations.
No.
No,
That's
don't
not
you
at
say
all.
no. Don't nut
I
on
know what you're
me.
talking about. That is not what's happening here, guy.
That is
Everybody in
exactly
the
what's
world
happening.
knows. No, see
You don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I
You
do,
don't.
because the tides. You're talking about like desalination and shit, dude.
Dude, it has nothing to do. Okay, well, what's the main? What's the tides of the freshwater lakes? What is the maximum tide?
I don't know, but they do have them.
It's 5
Genius.
centimeters. If you think 5
Yes, because you're
centimeters
talking
is a
about a
tide, that's why you're
significantly
single.
different body of water.
Okay, well, how come the Dead Sea has way less water than the freshwater lakes, but has a significantly higher tide?
Dude, nothing you're saying makes any sense on a
No
flat Earth
rebuttal.
model.
No
No
rebuttal.
rebuttal. I know why the tides happen. You can
Right,
follow the
okay.
tide pattern in exact. It's locked
Explain the
directly to the
question
moon.
that $2 just asked. Why is it that the Dead Sea has way less water than the lakes, but yet has more tide?
I would have to do some research into like
Could it
what
just
you're
be that
even
it's that
talking
thing that
about.
he's talking
First of all,
about
you're
that you have
just
no
saying
idea
that
about
that's
that actually
true.
causes the
Hold on.
tides?
You're literally just saying something that there's absolutely I don't even know to be accurate. You're just like making shit up.
There's
Yeah,
Dude,
acknowledgement.
this is what you guys love to do, right? You'll pick one thing that you fundamentally don't understand, and then you'll try to make that seem like
the only
accurate
one
information.
fundamentally not understanding anything is you.
You're an absolute joke. Do you know that? Do you realize that the we can actually watch the moon is in the moon? The tides are exactly pulled towards where the position of the moon is in relation to the Earth. Period.
Yeah, saltwater bodies
Constantly,
are.
without stop, for thousands of
Saltwater
years.
bodies are.
More salt, geniuses. You're talking about there not being salt in lakes, but salt in the ocean. The answer to the Dead Sea dumbassery is more salt. You guys are something else.
100%.
It's just ridiculous. He's telling you you're an idiot. Jesus. All right. You guys are like, you don't even know when somebody comes on and tells you you're wrong. You're so
It
stupid.
sounded like he disagreed with us that it's about the salt.
No, he didn't. He didn't. He just said you guys are fucking
Okay,
idiots.
so he didn't
All
come
right.
Why are
on
you
and say that the
cussing,
Dead
bro?
Sea
Why are you
has no
mad?
salt, bro. Come on.
Because it's so frustrating, guys. It's just
It
so
It's
is.
frustrating.
frustrating that no, we're frustrated. You're the one that's frustrating us, bro.
Oh, I'm so sorry because you've made a completely wild and ridiculous claim that you
It's
can't
not my
even come
fault you
close
don't
to
do
backing
any
up.
research whatsoever. You're just a
No
parrot,
research
man.
whatsoever. No research whatsoever. Is that what you just said to me?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Yeah,
You've
that
yet to
makes a
prove
lot
me
of sense.
otherwise, boss astronomy.
Yeah, I'm an astronomer. You're just wrong. You're literally wrong.
You're an astronomer that
Everything
doesn't
you're
know
saying is
anything
wrong.
about astronomy?
Yeah, I
You
know a
should
lot
probably
about
change your
astronomy.
name to no astronomy then.
Oh, yeah, that was really funny. That's really funny. These two guys that don't believe rockets take off and take pictures of the planet have anything to say to me. Okay, go down to Cape Canaveral and watch it yourself, genius.
Oh.
I
Yeah,
wonder.
yeah,
I
you
wonder
got
how
nothing
many
for that, do
generations
you?
it would be before they just like start
Go
giving
watch a
you the
rocket
feed
take off.
directly.
All right, I'm done with you two citizens.
My goodness. I wish I could just go back to believing everything that was told to me from the government, man. That would be, I mean, that would be a hell of a lot easier. I'd make a lot more money.
Dude, that's the reason they stay in with it. The money makes you stay. I guarantee. Like you can live a lie if it for the right price. I'm sure of it. A lot of people do. You
Oh
know.
yeah. I'm not even
I
gonna,
mean, that's
I'm not gonna sit here and say that I wouldn't be hella tempted if anybody came to me and was like, "Hey, you need to shut the hell up. We'll give you a cool meal." But it's like, with you do that, you sell out, and you basically sell out all your countrymen. So we can't do that.
yeah. I'm not selling. I'm not selling. They don't realize we're trying to wake them up, and it's like the cussing, the fussing, the anger, the confusion. That's where that comes from. Like you have to accept that a lot of the things that you believed, you were taught since you were 5. A child. They take a child into a room for 8 hours a day until it sticks. And then it sticks to them and they stick to a ball. That's all it is. That's what they think.
Nice.
And you can't even explain to them gravity doesn't exist. Gravity is only used for calculations in the celestial sphere. And they're like, I'm like, well, what is it at this level? It's static. It's a static electro effect. That's what it is. It's electrostatic, guys.
Oh
That's
yeah.
that's what makes water stick to things, right? Water is wet because of electrostatic effects. I mean, if they would at least admit that was the thing, I would believe in the ball. But instead, everybody's running around saying gravity is the reason when it's the weakest of 4 forces that hold anything to anything.
Yeah, they honestly, even if you did believe in gravity, you shouldn't be using it in your model because all of the other forces are so much stronger. Like what? It doesn't make any sense, even with what they are going with. And the whole thing, one thing I hear all the time is that things like density, buoyancy, And all that these kinds of things take gravity into account, and they work off of gravity. But I've gone and I've looked at the equations for this shit, and you know what I
Yeah.
don't see?
Gravity.
I don't see gravity. There is not one spot in there for the accounting of gravity in the just the regular Google. And you watch. Now that I've said it, they're going to put it in here in like within a month. Now people are talking about it, but right now, I checked it yesterday, and it was like it literally didn't have gravity anywhere in there. So I'm just like, they just say these things because they think them to be true, and they're obviously unfamiliar with what a breadcrumb is. There's a reason why we were taught how to do the scientific method specifically, and what they're doing is not is definitely not that.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like postulations before you even hypothesize anything, theories before you even do any research. I mean, it's crazy because they're all going off a theory versus people with hard evidence, and it's like they look at it and they get mad and immediately start insulting. Like I never called that guy dumb or fucking moron. That's just uncalled for. I don't think
Right.
he's a stupid person. I think he's scared to look. A lot of people are scared to look because I was. Like when I realized that it was flat, dude, I considered like honestly harming myself for about 10 minutes. I was like, this is insane. And I was like, I was truly shaken to my core. And since then, it's like my life has been better. But it's like dealing with the people that are still stuck in that cage. It's just,
Right.
it's bad, man. I
So
feel
I
bad
want
for them.
to just real quick. I just want to address two comments. One, somebody asked water and then said, "Answer me." I'm really not sure what you meant by that. And then the other one, and this is for I'm obviously not addressing this for the trolls or for the people who have no interest in learning. If you have no interest in learning anything, I really don't give a shit. But for the person who's like, how do you have hard evidence? A hard evidence to me would be the Montgomery mirror experiment, where they took a mirror, put it on the water, 14 miles away, went across, and with, I believe it was 1 foot observer height, were able to still see the flashing of the sun on the mirror. And the
Mm-hmm.
excuse for why we can see that on a ball is laughable. The light is spreading outside the bounds of the mirror, making it so that you can see it. That's laughable. You can block your line of sight from a mirror and prove that that's impossible. So, yeah, that's a hard evidence that the Earth is not curving, and you got to think if the Earth is not curving, it's not a ball. So, it's really that simple.
Thank you. That I've never heard of that one actually, but that makes a lot of sense. I was just in a Globe Live where they were like all like kissing each other's butts over like some guy that made a model using Aristophanes' like actual equation to show the ball. But guess what? Every bit of the rays of the sun were straight as an arrow. There was not a refraction like no Snell's law applied at all. Period. And I'm just like, but that like the refractive index like in certain areas is you can't use the ground level refractive index for something that is literally coming from 93 million miles away. That's
Right. Like,
lacking.
you had to give away your geometric positions of everything, but because when you introduced refraction, which you had to introduce because we were seeing way too far, and so they really did just kind of screw themselves on it. Jim Jason 85, why don't you go to Antarctica and see for yourself? I did go to my page. I did go to Antarctica, but I don't think it proves that we're on a ball. So anyway,
Wow, that's impressive. Like, did you get to go? Like, how far did you get to
no,
go?
it's a joke. I went to SeaWorld. So,
That was good.
yeah.
Hey, that's what they essentially take them to in Antarctica anyway. They go to the Deception Island. They get off at the Deception Islands, and then they ride around the Rockefeller Island. It's like they take them back. It's it. That's it, bro.
Where is the edge? If it's flat, it's past Antarctica. If you're unfamiliar with the flat Earth argument, there you go. It's past Antarctica where we're not allowed to go. You have to have special permission. You have to have EPA permission. They can just deny you after paying like $20,000 for an application. Or you can spend $20,000 to $50,000 to go to, as $2 was saying, the island, where they pretty much hold your hand and let you look at some penguins, and you're way away from the mainland, from like the main continent. You're off of like the edge on the peninsula of it. So if there is an edge to the Earth, it would be there. It would be past Antarctica. So we'd love to go and check it out. If you really want to put this flat Earth debate to bed quickly, then let us go to Antarctica. Quickest way.
Yeah. And it's like, well, there's no military. There's a presence of Navy ships called the Seabees, or the troops, or whatever they're called. They're land-based, I guess, Navy unit that actually is permanently based in Antarctica. They're called the Seabees, like Seabees. If you guys want to look into them, and it's mind blowing, man. Like how much like presence they have there. It's you're not getting a plane, you're not getting a boat, you're not taking a little tiny little ship. That little stupid race they sail all the way around like Antarctica. I don't even know how to get into that. Like they lie about the speed of the ship so they could say it takes 6 weeks to go around it. Something like 6 weeks to travel something like supposed 10,000 miles or something like that. And it's like, that makes no sense, man.
Are you familiar with the Journalism show on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I think they're going to do a show on that pretty soon on one of the guys who was in the sail race, I think, for the one around Antarctica. And I think that they were talking about how there was something weird going on with the distances and stuff. Because, they believe in the ball. So I think it's pretty interesting when that comes out. You're going to have to give me just a second. I got to run to the restroom. $2. If you want to just talk about some stuff real quick for a minute, I'll be right back. I appreciate you.
Oh yeah. I could probably keep them occupied, maybe.
Yeah, hold the line for just a second. I'll be right back.
All right, no problem. Anybody got any questions? I would love to take some of your questions. They say we're drugs, flagship boats we sell off. No one goes to space. You are absolutely correct. Show the auroral experiment. I would love to right now, but my mirror has broken. But I'm working on some other type of oscillating, magnetized electromagnetic. Basically, it's just retrofitted fidget spinners with magnets, and oscillating them over a silver, like actual hand mirror. Using the underside of the mirror as a lens will actually create an aurora borealis effect. Yeah, there definitely is something under the flat Earth. I'm sure that it's something that is known about in many circles or scientific circles. If you look up center of the Earth, or black hole at the center of the Earth plays the largest system of telecommunications connecting DNA, dark DNAs in a 4+ N negative dimensional manifold. Would I change my mind if I went to space? Probably, but I don't think that space is real at all. Period. Space, when they're referring to space, they're referring to the distance between our supposed atoms. So, like all that empty space that's inside of like between two atoms, that's the space they're talking about. So the macrocosmic scale is only the microcosmic scale, in a sense. Like they use the effects of small interactions between electrons and protons and things like that for their model of the bigger universe, but say that gravity doesn't have an effect on the smaller universe, but it dictates what happens on the larger universe. So you see what I'm saying? It's kind of like a way of lying to you, but telling the truth at the same time. I mean, they even show you, like when they show you the expansion of the Big Bang, they show you that there is something shooting X-rays through the center of the Earth because it's always a flat plane. And then it shows this ballooning of all these galaxies and stuff, and the moon and the solar system come out of that. Then it goes into like all these quasars and stuff. And I'm just like, well, they're telling you right there when they show you a ball and they show you the Earth with the sun inside of it, and then turn around and show you the sun with the Earth inside of it. That's what they're doing. They always color it the right way. They're telling you without telling you. It's the way they're. It's all part of a just basically just to take your money and to hide the fact that there is truly a creator, and that's no joke. Honestly, at the end of the day, that's all it's for.
Brandy Small, ships sink on the horizon, they don't disappear, therefore the Earth is round. Just to address this for those who aren't familiar with the argument, it is true that ships do disappear bottom first, but that's not because the Earth is round. That's due to limited resolution angle. So you got to look up the different things that go into perspective before you say it's just due to Earth curve. We can prove that it's not due to Earth curve when you can actually bring things back into view with that zoom. So it's all about that limited viewing angle. It's not something you can always do because sometimes there's things blocking it, like waves and things on the foreground. But the fact is that we see way too far, and we see way past where the Earth curvature calculators predict that we're supposed to see that obstruction. So the obstruction has to be caused by something else. I'm going to take just a second to shamelessly plug. If anybody is not familiar, there's a great company called, getting cut out there, Truth Smacks. You can go to truthsmacks.com and they have a resource page. If you're unfamiliar with some of the arguments of Flat Earth and of some other great conspiracies, you can go to the resource page and they have a lot of really good websites and links that you can click through to start doing your own research and start learning about some of the things that we know. So just wanted to go ahead and throw that out there. You can use your discount code SKY. They are delicious. It is trail mix, spreading truth one delicious morsel at a time. So go ahead and get your True Smacks today. Now with that out of the way, we'll go ahead and just kick right back into it. You can go to Google, and Google will tell you it's a sphere. Oh, wow. That ain't the dumbest freaking thing I've ever heard in my life.
Dude, have you looked into long range infrared photography?
A little bit. I have seen some crazy stuff with that. Like, don't we have over 500 miles with no curvature with that?
Yeah. And the thing about infrared is there's no refraction because it's infrared. It sees right through the actual shot, like the I guess the lensing effect. So infrared is able to see through most of that. Like you have to have a gold mirror to actually reflect a little bit of infrared, and that's why they supposedly have this gold foil on the James Webb Space Telescope, which is just a joke in itself. Like, ridiculous, man. I like that. The only flat thing in nature is pizza. Okay.
That's
Don't
funny.
talk about pancakes.
Someone said that my audio was messing up a little bit. I just plugged in a different mic. Is it better now?
Yeah, it sounds fine.
Okay, cool.
You work with satellites with only 30 followers. You work with satellites.
I know 100% the Earth is round. Brandy's small. I think the only way that you would know that is if you actually went up with your satellite, and I don't think you've done that.
Let's see. I want to find some videos on this stuff.
Appreciate the heads up, Gigi.
Like, full ride on space shuttle boosters, 35-minute video. Okay. Right. What was the name of that video? A lot of these videos, like, come on, have you seen the James Webb Space Telescope launch video? Like,
that's so
literally
funny.
every other rocket except that, just, all of a sudden in the 80s when they'd launch rockets, they go straight up. They would go straight up. Then in the 90s, they were starting to curve a little bit. During like the launches in the mid 2000s, I think they were curving. All of a sudden, they're launching the James Webb Space Telescope. This thing goes straight up, and all of a sudden just stops. And it's like 1994, like CAD, CAD modeling. I'm just like, who made this in Blender?
Are they even trying anymore to fake us out, or are they just like, are they purposely doing it bad enough? Because
I think they're purposely doing it bad, honestly. Like, I'm not gonna okay, let me see something real quick if I can find this. Okay, yeah. Okay. I did have you ever heard of photo forensic? It's a website. You can like check like any photo to see if it's been edited or whatever.
Right.
I did one of the James Webb Space Telescope like photos. Literally says on their stock image from Hubble, like it's the stock image from Hubble. They just
I knew
literally
it.
used yeah, dude. The two things they used to make it were the original Photoshop when Hubble first came out, and it says it was updated with Photoshop 2020 or 22. So
Jeez.
the Photoshop from this year was actually used. So I'm just like, look at that. Like that's laughable.
They're not even trying, and they know it too. They know that they don't have to because the people who defend it are got their heads so far up their ass that they know that it's not going to matter, and it just drives the truthers crazy because the truthers are all like, "Oh, look at it! It's right there! It's right there!" And then they're literally
how
like,
did you become a flat earther?
they're like Bird Box.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, that movie. Yeah, that explains it all right there. That movie, and it's like right before that movie came out was right before I became a flat earther too. So it's like
That's
it
funny.
made so much sense. That's great. I never put that together.
I'm
How did you become a flat earther?
I'm probably going to catch a little bit of hate for this because the thing is, and I'll be 100% forthright. I do not have a tremendous memory, but I became a flat earther back in 2014, 2015. I had originally saw Matt Powerland's real or photo video, which basically he claims that he actually worked with NASA and that one of his jobs was to create the Photoshop planets that they would discover all the time. Because they would always just drop, out Centauri Alpha 5 was just discovered, and they'll just have a picture with it and a description and shit, and it says it's like 4 million light years away or whatever the fuck. It's all random. But they would basically, he'd be the one apparently to create these Photoshop planets. And he became disillusioned with everything. He was like, okay, this is bullshit. So he then, left it and was doing like art and stuff. And he would paint. And one of the things that he did was he was one of the ones who pointed out that there are people who can paint photorealistic paintings, like paintings that literally look like photographs. They look way better than anything we've ever seen from NASA or any of the space agencies for that matter. And they're completely painted. So when you look at these images that we get from space, the question that you can ask is real or photo? Or, sorry, real or painting? And then after you answer that question to yourself, you have to ask the second question, which is, how would you know?
I know I know that what you're saying is true because I used to do analyzation of photo. I went to school for digital media design, and I can spot literally if it's made with a computer, I can tell like off the rip. Well, some of this stuff started coming out, and I was like, man, this looks kind of like legit. So I started like looking into like looking on the edges of stuff, and I noticed brush strokes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was seeing brush strokes when I magnified the image, and I'm like, this is a freaking finger painting. Like they will actually use their fingers too. Like I found like in one of Jupiter, I found someone's thumbprint, like literally a thumbprint in the actual like photo, and I was or
Nice.
painting. I was like,
The best and the
what?
brightest.
Are you kidding? Yeah, exactly. They had to leave their mark.
Hold on, I wanna address this, Brandy. So you believe a Photoshop guy over NASA? That was just the guy who kind of got me rolling on it. That wasn't the nail in the coffin. But if you must know, Einstein was an idiot or not real. I mean, he was always reading a script. He was very rarely talking, his own thoughts and opinions. It seems. But I know that's subjective. There's the fact that he's looking at somebody a little scared before he answers doesn't necessarily mean that he was being controlled. But there's a whole series, regardless of what you think about that, called Einstein's Idiots. And it's actually kind of a known thing in physics that Einstein was a moron and had a whole bunch of shit wrong. So, no, I don't believe Einstein.
Well, that was like as soon as Einstein died, they're like, "Damn it, we need someone else." And they found the perfect patsy with like with Hawking. Like he had a guy that literally was an interpreter before they got him the chair, and it's like he had to go everywhere with this interpreter
Oh
that
yeah.
had a handler. It's like, dude, they was like Helen Keller all over again. They basically like used Helen Keller to get their agenda passed, and they're like, well, we'll just use this guy too because everybody's gonna feel bad for him, and
You
it's like
can't
he doesn't know
check. I
what he's
mean,
saying. Yeah, it's like you can't fact check
and
him.
actually, Jeranism was able to prove. Jeranism was able to prove that at least in one of his interviews, his responses were pre-programmed. Like it was literally on his computer screen with the questions that were coming up, and it was like it was a teleprompter feed being ran. So it's like, I mean, he didn't even type his answers in that interview. But the other thing that's really interesting with Stephen Hawking is he was the oldest living person with ALS. He had ALS for like 60 something years. It was ridiculous. And he wasn't even on the ALS website until Jeranism called him out on it. It was like, hey, what the hell's going on here? And then literally within like a month or two of that, he was on the ALS website. And then they said that what kept him alive so long was his love of science. Like you can't even make this up. It's really funny.
I'm trying not to laugh because I know honestly, I feel like as evil and sadistic as some of the people that have to be like in power or do the things they have to do, like unequivocally, like there's something like that's not there that's in a normal person. Like it's a darkness that is just there to lie to people, which I mean, money is a great motivator. I mean, honestly, it truly is. You see all kinds of people like if they could fake a presidency, they could fake anything. Like they have faked everything. Like think about it, man. Like they could fake anything, and it's now coming to a point to where everything that didn't make sense is starting to make a lot of sense to a people that it may not be flat Earth that brings them to it, but I'm telling you, man, there's something that is like literally just waking people up left and right, and they always end up here, and all these people that are just saying these repetitive programmed responses, um, one day you're not going to be able to put any program response in because you're just going to be stuck with the ultimatum of, it's flat or what now? Like what now? What comes next?
Right.
And I don't think people are like it's literally hundreds of thousands of people a day. It's not like 10 or 20 people a day. It's thousands of people a day are coming to this realization. People like it's it's big. It's true. It's the oldest conspiracy in the world, literally.
No, I completely agree with that. Speaking of, since we were just talking about Hawking and speaking of puppets, one thing I did want to bring up that I thought was really funny was I don't know if you know about like Helen Keller. You know how she was like blind, deaf, and dumb, and
Yeah.
until this lady came and was able to like teach her how to communicate.
Yeah.
Did you know that
You
lady
didn't
was
hear me
like her
when I said like
translator
Helen
for
Keller.
like her whole life?
She wrote this book about like the like it wasn't civil rights. What was it? Something to do some liberal
Yeah,
like
she was
idea.
very. Steven Crowder brought it up. It was she was like extremely liberal. It literally makes me think of Stephen Hawking when I see that. I was like, okay, so this is not the first time they've done this. I mean, it's like, oh look, Helen Keller says down with the proletariat. Like what the heck? It's super funny.
She was like, "We must seize the means of production." Like, what the heck, dude? Like, she doesn't know. She doesn't.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. I just knocked my earpiece out of my
Oh, I
ear.
said like she's like over here saying like we got to seize the means of production and like
Oh Jesus
talking about
Christ! Yeah. My God, I wouldn't. The people who think that's a good idea, it's like you're just not thinking about who gets the say in the stuff. Like you think it's
they're
gonna be
like
you?
they're sitting there. It's like, oh, colonizers. I'm like, okay, explain to me the difference between a commune and a colony. There is none.
Yeah.
There is no difference in a commune and a colony. Distribution of work will happen whether you want it or not. distribution of labor and funds that you don't get.
Yep. And then there goes all the incentive for doing it yourself.
Yep. So it's a society that was doomed from the start. It had a good run, but um, when everything goes all the way to the fan, like at least you have people that have been here, and we're not gonna chastise you when everything like you come to us. We will never chastise you. That's one thing that's different about us compared to people that are chastising us and giving us a hard time. We will never say "I told you so," ever. And I love every single one of you guys. And whether you believe it's a ball, a pear, whatever, it doesn't matter because we're all human at the end of the day anyway. And we're in this together, regardless of what we believe the planet is. And I'm
100%.
sorry. I'm sorry you guys are. If I've ever said anything to any of you guys, like I do it all in sport, and I do get frustrated, really, really easy, especially when talking about this. But I'm gonna hop off, man. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Anything else you want to talk about before I go?
Shoot. I mean, not right off the top of my head. I was just gonna say something about how because right now there's kind of like a split going on. I won't say it's a split, but there's a conversation going on in the flat Earth community right now about whether to continue to reach across the aisle or not. And they don't say that. They say it's specifically like with dealing with troll accounts and stuff like that. And I get that. I mean, I definitely I don't recommend people waste your time with troll accounts, but this idea that we really shouldn't debate or anything like that, I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think that there's a place for the showmanship, the trolling, the debating. I mean, hell, you can even call it like the name calling and stuff. I mean, there's a place for all that in the discourse. And it's entertaining. Let's just be honest. I mean, a lot of people find it really entertaining. So, I mean, that's all well and good. But there's also, of course, the place for the open arms, peace and love, path of the sage, if you will, where all your goal is to just reveal the information and not really go back and forth with people. So I think that there's room for both of it, and I think that especially with the younger generation coming out, that hasn't really been exposed to this kind of stuff, I think that we do really need to get these ideas out there in a more realistic fashion, because right now, people who come into this, they just get the troll information, and then it looks really, really stupid, and then you hop right off of it. And I know, because that's what I did the first time I looked at Flat Earth. The first time I was like, that's absolutely stupid. There's no way that they lied to us about that. I was into conspiracies. I knew about the Illuminati and the Masonry, but when I had heard about the flat Earth the first time, I was like, no, some things just are true. They couldn't have lied about that. But like you already know how the story goes. So
Yeah, man. Like I was just trying to disprove it. My best friend became a flat earther. And rather than lose one of my best friends, like I'm talking like one of my oldest best friends, one day just went totally, pardon me for using this term, R-worded. He was retarded. I was like, what? Like, dude,
nice.
stop. You're joking. I was thinking he was just running a game on me. And I was like, until I finally, I went so hard trying to disprove this, man. I'm telling you, I learned more about the Earth trying to disprove its shape than I ever did while believing in space. And you truly learn more about the Earth and science than you do if you believe it's a ball, because you have to not know anything and just be rewarded for not knowing anything, because that's what it is. The whole thing is the ostracization
think
that comes out of like
$2. I actually think
it
it's worse than I think it's worse than just knowing nothing. I think they force you to learn things that are not helpful and contradictory to the actual worldview. That way, when they come out with, like, let's just put the Vakshmeen thing out there for a second. Most people actually, a lot of people that I know were against the vaccines. I think there was a whole bunch of funny business with it and all that kind of stuff. So I forgot what point I was making. Basically, it's,
Yeah, I get you, man. Yeah, I just don't want to like talk about that too much because I know that people, as soon as you say a few things about that, next thing you know, your live is ended and you got 7 days for disinfo,
sure.
and I'm just like,
They blocked one of my
put
posts
nonsense in your
for
title.
hateful hateful worldview.
Really, that's one I haven't had that blocked.
I'll screenshot it. It's on the. I took a clip from Alex Jones where he was just blasting the WEF, and they said the
Okay,
reason that they gave was hateful ideology. It's like, okay.
wow.
So yeah,
Yeah, but
that's
the
a new
ones
one.
that genocide isn't a hateful ideology or anything. Like, come on, guys. Like,
No, they're openly saying, well, we got to reduce the world population to where it was like 500 years ago, and if we do that, we will. If we do that, then we'll solve all of our problems. I'm convinced that flat earthers are demons. I know what you mean by demons, but let me go ahead and flip that on its head so that you know that I don't really give a shit about that. Because the thing is that demons etymology comes from the word daemon, which means wise master. So if you want to equate me with a wise master, I will happily accept that.
damn. I'm giving you a golf clap on that one. That was very nice. That was awesome. I never knew that.
Yeah, there's
I've never looked at the.
well, yeah, when you look at the etymology of a lot of words that are found in the Bible, you'll see something pretty interesting. The reason why I don't subscribe to Christianity is because I've actually double backed into Christianity twice, and like I actually full on believed it. I started reading the Bible like cover to cover. I got scared by a paranormal experience. Just like full disclosure, I had some ghosts messing with me, and I thought, well, these are demons, so I gotta read the Bible and figure out how to deal with them. So I start reading the Bible, and I start reading it and reading it and reading it, and I'm like, wait a second, there's some things that don't quite make sense. Why is this the case? And then I find out, oh wait, they've been translated, and there's older generations of the Bible. Okay, well, I don't trust kings, I don't trust governments, so I'm not going to trust what they said about the Bible. Let me try to find the original. And I go and I track it back to the oldest translations that I can find, to like transliteral versions of it. And I find out that a whole bunch of stuff in it that I thought was in there actually wasn't. And some stuff that I thought was in there, or sorry, you know what I meant. The stuff that I thought was in there wasn't. And the
Oh yeah,
stuff that,
no, I've been down my biblical road. That's
yeah,
what I'm saying. I was an atheist. I was like the whole reason I didn't subscribe to it because there's clearly two masters in the Bible. There's two opposing forces, and neither one of them is right in my book. And I see
yeah,
this unequivocally, like when I look at it. But I do know that I do not subscribe to anything in the Bible except what Christ said to do to others, and that is to treat people with respect
mm-hmm,
and stand your ground whenever people come into you, and do not let people run over you. I turn the other cheek. You know what? If someone does something wrong to me, I don't worry about revenge. I keep a tight karmic butthole, man. Like that's one thing you have to do is like
yeah,
the tighter you keep your karma, the more you will see that it repays other people that do you wrong. And that's just one thing that after living that way for so long that I don't even I'm a pacifist. I'm a complete pacifist. I get frustrated, but I never get fighting mad. Like if I get in a fight, like used to, I was like, I was into the physicality of confrontation. And it's like since I basically had a new outlook on life, it's like I see where the wrong is in people that are letting their emotions drive them. I'm not to the sense to where like I let my emotions control my anger.
oh
It's
yeah,
like I direct my anger more towards study than I do towards anything. So proving people wrong is like my new form of
right.
attacking something. So it's like, and I go relentless, man. Like I've put problem. I don't even know. Like I had lost my job, and I was jobless for like a year, And that's where I did all my flat Earth research. Like I was staying up, like I'm talking like probably like 16 hours, like just doing straight research. It was
Easily.
just,
Oh, you
and
slept?
no, I slept. Yeah, sometimes.
Oh, sometimes.
I was being like, I had other stuff to do. Like I had like no, like, I don't know, man. I just always had this feeling like I had to get my information out, and TikTok was the last thing I ever considered doing. And it's like I got on here, and it was like overnight, like within a few weeks, I was like looking at my followers. I'm like, I'm doing something right. Like something is, because my friend that told me, he was a flat earther, told me, he's like, dude, you gotta get on TikTok. You're the guy that needs to get on TikTok because you just talk about the craziest stuff. He's like, man, you will love it. I'm just like, no, it's stupid. So I like never paid attention to it. I made a TikTok, and they shadow banned me to hell. And then I made a backup. First time I got banned, got it to 1,000. And then next thing I know, it's like people were watching my stuff. I was finding these really cool videos online, and I was just like taking them and like putting them on the TikTok. And it's like, oh man, it's like, I I sincerely believe that God put this app here on the earth for people to be reached. Like, I always had a feeling that I had to do something like this. And in a way, God showed me that this is what I had to do. And that's all I do. I submit to the will of God. And it's like things happen for the better, not necessarily for me, but for other people. You know, I want to be that positive force that turns negative things into a positive thing. Like I want to be that transfer of energy so that other people don't have to take the negative. Like I can't save the world. I'll never do that, but I could at least help somebody come to realizations of something that might save their life, you know.
Absolutely.
And that's the reason I do this. That's the reason I do it. I don't do it for any clout. I don't care about that. Like if TikTok disappeared tomorrow, I wouldn't care. It wouldn't affect me any, but I would feel worse for the fact that, you know, it's I'm unable to do what I did, knowing that what I know. And I just want to thank the the Father above, for the creator, whatever you want to say, that
You know why,
put me here
$2, just
for
not
it.
to blow your mind too much. You might already know this, but do you know why most Western religions refer to God as the Father?
Um, comes from the word pater, doesn't it? Paternal. I don't know.
So you're talking about like the etymology of it. That's not necessarily what I mean. I mean like the esoteric meaning behind it,
Well, the Earth is our mother, right?
right?
So
But do
I
you know
figure,
why the
like,
Earth is our mother?
because we're in the womb of right now, like we're in the womb
So I'll make it.
technically.
I'll make it even simpler than that. It's actually super direct. If you look at occult literature and what they look at and what they believe, they divide. They say that gender is something that manifests in everything, masculine and feminine principles. Masculine is simply the principle of I am. It is basically the affirmation of existing. Whereas the earth, being the mother, the earth is something that's constantly changing. The female attribute is the process of becoming. So God is always referred to as the Father because God does not change.
Hmm. Wow, I could see that.
That's also why he
The
refers to
mother,
himself as I am.
that makes sense. Ego, emi, I know, which is the Greek form of that. And then you have Yaha Sharalaha Shaila, or which is the Hebrew, which I'm a fundamental believer that Hebrew is a made up language. And people really disagree with that. But I'm saying it's an incomplete language. It really, truly is. If you compare it to the earliest Greek manuscripts, Greek had 24 letters, Hebrew had 22. And they were used consonants that never had any vowels. And no vowels means that you're just using basically ugger, chug, dug, dug, like it's all a guttural speaking. And basically, the Greek language is very, very interwoven with true, I won't want to say phonic, values, because that would be the wrong way to put it, because even Phoenicians didn't have vowels. But it's essentially the vowel came from Greek writing or Greek scripts, whatever you want to call it. But
There's
it's just weird, man.
there's
Everything that people believe in truly is as backwards as you can be. Like I could see why you looked into the occult, and I've done a lot of looking into the occult myself. Probably not at the level that you have, but when you finally get to see the people that were silenced back during the Crusades, are the people that more than likely had it right, like the Cathars and the other groups of people that were killed off and slaughtered.
oh yeah,
Were some of the people that had the true knowledge of what this world is and what we are
there
in
is
this world. You know?
it's kind of a known thing if you've ever like talked to pagans and stuff, that the whole idea that pagans are worshiping this like dark entity, basically worshiping Satan, is just completely incorrect. Pagans
Yep.
believe in they believe in nature. They believe in the creative force of manifestation, and there's no instructions in any of the writings that I've seen that are for blood sacrifice, child sacrifice, anything like that. The only books that have sacrifice in them are Abrahamic books.
Yep. Absolutely, and that's because they worship Saturn. All Abrahamic religions stem from Saturn. Saturn is the deity that not only has power over all seven of the lesser deities, or six of the lesser deities, the planets. It actually was the demiurge that created the religion known as Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, due to its taking of the Old Testament. See, what a lot of people don't know is that the Old Testament is younger than the New Testament. And it's kind of obvious when you see that they call it the New Testament, when originally it was just called the Red Letter Testament. And one of the ways you could see this is the earliest forms of the New Testament we have are in the first century, about the year 66 AD was when some of these writings started coming about. And then you have 1,000 years later being the earliest full complete version of the Old Testament, for a long time, until they found, and I throw my fingers up quotations, the Dead Sea Scrolls back in 1948, which just really just concreted in the fact that, hey, look, Hebrew's older than they said it was. And really, you're just like, well, this is kind of funny. They found the Nag Hammadi 2.5 years ago. And it's like,
And you
now
can't
here we
even
go
really
with this.
date it. I mean,
Yeah, you can't. You can't. You really can't. And that's why I'm saying it's like, truly the people that think they are just going to heaven, righteous, all this blah, 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 are the people that are out here condemning people by the flesh, and the spirit and flesh are two separate things. They don't understand that. People don't understand what a spirit is for the most part. Like they think that it's like, oh, look, it's my soul or whatever. No, your soul is a consciousness that has memory. Spirits have no memory. There's a difference. There's a big difference. Like the Bible's like a big
you
parable
can
for everything.
actually split it even further. If you actually cross it with like Buddhism and stuff, you'll see that the soul, they believe that the soul is just the animating principle. Is like the soul isn't the thing that holds the memory, that's the consciousness. The consciousness is different than the soul. The soul is simply the
Oh,
thing that makes you alive. But it could be all
that makes more sense, bro.
it could just be all the same thing too. I mean, I don't really put too much difference in the, consciousness and soul aspect, but if I had to narrow down what I really care about, it would be consciousness, because um, let's just take reincarnation for an example. If that's true and reincarnation is true and your soul is just the animating principle, well, you're never going to lose that. That's why they say you never die. But if you forget who you are and you can't ever get that back, then I mean, what's the difference between that and dying, right? There's no difference.
Right.
So the thing that I would like to, trying to step off into woo land for a second, I would like to see if we can figure out how to maintain consciousness through death. That way, I mean, I think that's what they mean when people talk about becoming immortal. I think they mean like astral projection, lucid dreaming, where you can
Yep.
do that to the extent where you can just leave your body and stay gone. But I mean, I'm not a expert in all that. I've only astral projected one time, and it was a spur of the moment thing. I wish I could do it again, but it takes a lot of effort to develop that skill, and that's just not something I've put in the time yet to do.
It's worth it, dude. You really should. I don't do it anymore. Like I was pretty proficient in it. Like if I try to do it and I go to sleep, like I still do it randomly, but I remember the first time I ever did it, I actually watched an episode of The Price is Right
Nice.
next to my grandma in the living room and literally was asleep the whole time in my bedroom. And went in there, told her about it. She thought I was crazy. Like I was like, dude, I miss my grandma so much. But I actually see her in my dreams too. Like people that die that are around me, I actually see them in my dreams. Like I interact with a lot of people. Like I've always had like some weirdness about that. Like, but it's really nothing more than what we see here. Is we consider.
Oh, your mic muted. $2. Your mic has been muted. Might have gotten kicked. We'll give you a second here to catch back up. In the meantime, everybody who's joining the stream, welcome. Host, who do people say you look like? Well, if I'm doing a big flat earth stream, they say I look like a caveman. Oh, his phone must have died. I've been told I look a little like the missing link. That's a good one. I used to look like Jim Carrey a little bit when I was thinner and had less facial hair, but yeah, that's all good. Let me go ahead and read through some of these comments here. God said you need to be a flat earther. Not necessarily. Wrong. You look like Josh Brolin. Nice. Heck yeah. I'll take it. I'll take it like a compliment. It's all good. Let's see here. We don't have any more good comments here. We got nobody. If anybody wants to jump in the guest box, I'll give y'all a few minutes to do that. But if nobody jumps in, we'll probably go ahead and call it. We've been on since 9 o'clock. But I appreciate, everybody stopping by. If anybody has any last minute things, I'll go ahead and read some comments. Anything you guys want me to read out, we'll go ahead and get it going. Maybe he'll hop back in. 2 cents, maybe not. $2. I'm pretty sure I'm following him, so go give him a follow if you're not already. He's a great actor. Nice. Yeah, my chat's a little delayed, but that's all right. I appreciate everybody coming by. The Earth is censored, but it's a little less censored now. Thankfully, I was able to get back on here. We're going to keep doing this streams weekdays, at least Monday through Wednesday. I'm still up in the air on if I'm going to do Thursday or Friday, but we're going to do Flat Earth. We're going to do other conspiracies. We're going to do spiritualism, all kinds of really cool stuff to get into. So, we live in a pretty crazy world, and it's nice to see all there is out there. So I'll leave here in just a minute. We'll see if anybody jumps in here. Anybody want to jump in the box? Anybody got any good things to say? We would love to have you say it here. You can end up on my YouTube channel and get some notoriety there. So go ahead and jump on in. I'll give y'all like 3 more minutes, and then we'll go ahead and call it. Let's see here. Get another good question in here. Stop going to Christian websites for science. I don't go to Christian websites for science. That's ridiculous. I don't know who told you that. Research equals Google search. It could start with a Google search, but it's got to take you to a website, right, and to hopefully a credible source, but maybe not too credible. We'd hate to invoke conspiracy to debunk whatever it is they're saying. Serper Hecker Head. Do you ever dress up like a vampire for Halloween? No hate. Your teeth are just cool, bro. I've been told that a lot. I actually have gone on as a vampire for Halloween, although it's been a couple years. So yeah, I have some pretty prominent canines. It helps with the steak. Love a good steak. Damon 1, nice. Do you know about the etymology of demon? Somebody was trying to call me a liar on that. And if I'm a liar, then go ahead and present your evidence. But it's not that hard. You can look up etymology of demon right now. It comes from the word daemon, Daemon, and it means wise master. It's originally a Greek word. So yeah, demons is a word that's been demonized because they want you to hate knowledge. Same thing with being able to stand up for yourself. They don't want you to be able to do that. They want a nice passive population that will turn the other cheek when it comes time to be conquered. So just remember that. One of the most terrifying people that existed were the Vikings, and that's because they didn't take shit from nobody. And if they needed something, they would go out and get it. So I'm not saying to go out and pillage or anything like that. No violence. I won't advocate for that, but I will definitely advocate that people need to have stronger will. They need to be able to back up, stand up for what they believe in. And don't be afraid to put your face out there. You know, everybody's afraid to put your face out. And dude, it's the 21st century. Nobody gives a crap. You know, you could look horribly ugly. I bet you there's somebody on the internet that's uglier than you. I bet there's somebody on the internet that's not as well spoken as you. So put your stuff out there. You know, there's no harm in it. Earth is a sphere. Yawn. You got anything else for us? Quit the lass. Quell the lass. I've heard that probably like 1,000 times. I've yet to hear of extremely compelling evidence. I think the most compelling evidence that I ever heard actually claim, I'll give it to him, from Globy McGlobeface, even though he wasn't the first person to point it out about the southern crux being visible from like supposedly 2 different directions. But the thing is that everybody's directionally illiterate. We have crazy ley lines, magnetic lines that our compasses like to point to, and it messes up our direction. And then we have refraction anomalies, and with the fact that we don't even know what the sky is. So, I mean, to use the lights in the sky as evidence for the shape of the floor, it's just not a very good one. If you have a terrestrial evidence, we would be happy to take a look at that. But just remember, you got to isolate the variable. So don't go like, oh, we got a ring laser gyroscope. That proves the Earth is spinning. No, it doesn't. It proves that something is spinning. It could be the Earth. It could be the sky. It could be the gyroscope. Just don't fucking know. So anyway, the water would fall from the sides. No, not if it's contained from a high elevation, like kind of like a bowl. You imagine Antarctica is like the ring around it. So, I mean, I know y'all have heard this. This is basic stuff. It's only 21 people in here. I imagine that just about everybody in here has heard this stuff before. So, could be your head. What do you mean? Could be in my head? Sure. But I doubt it. I mean, we measured it, and then y'all had to like double back and try to like cover for it with refraction and all this other stuff. So, but yeah, that's okay. I mean, I would scramble too if, everything that I had vehemently held on to as fact was being challenged and crumbling. So, but I know that's subjective. Some people don't think it's crumbling, but a lot of people do. There are flat earthers growing every single day. More and more coming. We'll see them all the time on Dave's Flat Earth app, which, by the way, I'll go ahead and shamelessly plug that as well. Go to flatearthdave.com. You can check out his website. You can go to the Google and Apple store and get his Flat Earth Sun and Moon watch. And when you do, there'll be a nice little pop, and we'll know that a new flat earther has been born. It's like a couple dollars. So, I mean, you got that. Everybody's got that. Why is Polaris only visible from the northern hemisphere? It's actually not. There are places in the southern hemisphere that it is visible from. So, cheese only, you're gonna have to try again. Oh, so I not real sight. I don't know what you mean. You're gonna have to explain what you meant there. Nobody wants to hop in the box. Quell the last. You don't have enough followers to hop in. Probably not. It's hard to get enough followers, enough content. I mean, I managed to do it in under a month, but, you know, what do I know? The site you said to go to is not a real site. Yes, it is. FlatEarthDave.com. I'm type it in right now. I'll show you my screen. Give me just 1 second. I'll go ahead and get this pulled up for you. Thankfully, the storm's passed. Oh, here you go. Let me take this for you. And, oh man, my screen's all fucking... Show it. Give me 1 second here. How do you do effects? There we go. Boom. Let's go to my computer screen here. You can see that it is a real website, flatearthdave.com. Get your Sun, Moon, Zodiac app. Super easy. So let's go back here. Pull up my graphic. Boom. And now you know that it is a real site and you can go to it. Have you been to the Southern Hemisphere? I've been to Australia. It's literally not visible. It doesn't have to be visible from every spot on the Earth. That's a misconception because you're still thinking that it has to be so far away. But the thing is that things compress down towards the horizon line the further away you get from it. So the further you get from the North Star, the more it's going to drop towards the horizon, regardless of if it's flat or a sphere. I hope this helps. Anything else? So we still got 18 people in here. You know, humor you for a few more minutes. We got any other good evidences? Any fantastic ideas and evidences that you'd like for me to share? Possibly make it to my booming YouTube channel with a whopping 89 subscribers. I know, probably didn't realize you were talking to such a big wig. The site is... Oh, I guess they changed the name of it. It changed to something else. Type in theflatearthpodcast.com. So, I apologize. I guess they changed the website name. Theflatearthpodcast.com. Which it says right there. And the home of flatearthdave.com. Yeah, okay. So they did just update this. Nice. Yeah, so they're staying up on top of it, guys. It's not it's not one of those ran down internet ghettos. Flat Earth coffee. Get your Flat Earth coffee, guys. You got to support the things that you like or they go away. That's amazing. I'm actually going to place an order for that right now. That's awesome. Dave, Flat Earth Dave, does have a TikTok as well. Y'all should go follow him. If you're still on, I imagine you're fans. So, yeah, he got his TikTok going, and he's posting lots of little shorts to it. So go show him some support, like his stuff, show him some love, share it around. Well, okay, also, why does the sun always light exactly half of the Earth at the time? Well, it doesn't, actually. So you're wrong about that. It doesn't light exactly half. You're simply incorrect. Go look at the time zones and then explain to me why one of them has like a giant jagged cutout out of it. And explain to me how that makes sense on the globe. Sandman, you missed my question. Let me go back up here. Sorry, Sandman. With the solar filter, the sun is the same size as the sunset. It is at high noon. Well, I would say this, Sandman. There has been, and I know it's not many, but so far I've seen one that does show the sun slightly change size towards the horizon. But I will admit it doesn't really give us much to work with, but we're also going with the sun as an apparent object. It's basically like a glare. We don't really know what it is, but I know that judging the shape of the floor by the lights in the sky is a huge mistake. I mean, case in point, if you're in a bedroom right now, look up, tell me what shape the lights are. and then go ahead and look at your floor and tell me how spherical your floor is based on the lights. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There'd be curved sunlight. I mean, isn't the light curving? I mean, I thought we all agreed that the light was refracting. So that's not really an issue. Do you really think the time zones display a precise measure of the sun's light? It's just politics. No, I'm saying it doesn't, and to suggest that the time zones only work on the globe is asinine, because it doesn't. Solar filter eliminates the glare. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, you're talking about, if it's an apparent sun or not. Yeah, I mean, the solar filter does take out glare, but that doesn't mean that the sun itself isn't an apparent object or an ethereal object. So, I mean, again, I'm always willing to open up to the possibility that I may be wrong, but regardless, again, the lights in the sky wouldn't indicate the shape of the floor. So, skipping over me because he knows he's wrong. Quell the last, my God, if you guys are just going to take turns, I'm not trying to skip anybody. These are just humans talking about flat Earth. No proof guaranteed. Proof is legit. What do you have? Oh, now it's a podcast. Whatever. I mean, you're just picking at shit, just trying to cause all kinds of problems. Who gives a fuck if it's a podcast or a website or whatever? It's an app that I was actually trying to direct people to, but I guess there's a podcast as well. And yes, Dave does do a podcast. Who the flip cares? The lines are separating dark and light. There's literally a video of a ship that literally is seeing the nighttime and the daytime across a flat horizon. It's just because it's a local light. It's no different than having a light bulb close to a brick wall. So, I know that you like to think that this is, hardcore nail in the coffin proof, but it's not. And not only that, it's not scientific. There's no variable we can isolate to prove that it only works on your globe. So, you have to take this stuff into consideration, right? Could you explain existence outside of the flat Earth? No, we haven't been there. We haven't studied it. We don't know. So why would we attempt to explain something that we have no knowledge of? That would be like us being NASA. Read my above comment. It's a continuation of the one before. All right, cheese only. Sorry about that. You really think the time zones display? No, I was saying they don't. I'm saying that the globers try to say that the time zones are the way they are because the Earth is a globe, and that's just not true. If you can admit that it's, they're just politics, that they're just lines drawn, then, that's fine. Mars isn't. Okay, so that's a logical fallacy. Just because the things in the sky are round does not mean that we are round. It's just not evidence. Since to be meteor hits the Earth, it just falls by going back up under the Earth. No, we're not a flat Earth in a space vacuum. We're a completely different cosmology. Imagine that we're in like a realm, and that there is no outer space, or at least not the way they describe it. Optic Rico OG coming in. I bet with that name you could be a glober, but I'm not sure. How's it going, Rico?
What's up?
Welcome to the stream.
What's up, man? So I just left a flat Earth globe kind of debate, I guess you would call it.
Sick.
But so you're a flat earther? You're flat Earth?
Yeah, I'm a flat earther.
Nice. I definitely I don't sell or I don't subscribe to any sort of either way. I feel like we should always question everything that we are told, but
true that.
I believe there's something more going on than what we were told for sure. It's pretty crazy to think that people can't question that, actually.
Oh, I know, right? They think we got it all figured out, nothing to see here. And then when there is evidence that contradicts the things that people think they know, it's Bird Box. It's these are not the droids you're looking for. And it's like, man, you can only take that so far. Look at the big
Pretty
box.
funny. was just thinking about it the other day. We had an elementary school, actually. I'm not sure if that's the same thing that you have in your area, but like grade 1 through 6 or whatever.
Sure.
We had a not a terrarium. A terrarium is like plants, but it was basically the most sci-fi looking area that you would go out into, and as kids we'd look up into this globe-like formation, and they would have all the stars kind of placed on the ceiling. And it, like, I feel like it's just so funny that just from such a young age we were being just told that that was the situation.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
you just look up and the northern star, it just happens to never change. But we won't talk about the speed or the rotational speed that we are traveling through the galaxy at,
How about the
which I guess has no end.
how about when they say, well, we know that the stars are, we know this is how it is because of the parallax of the
Planetarium.
stars. And it's like, okay, how much is the parallax? And they're like, oh, it's less than 0.01 degree. Okay, how did you see it? Oh, we have a special instrument. Well, so
And stuff.
that's,
Okay, so Devin, Devin, one of your viewers here says planetarium. Yes, thank you very much. I am a bit dyslexic, so I get a lot of words mixed up. And then the Northern Star has changed, though. Yeah, it's changed, but I think it's not very consistent with what would make sense.
what
I
did
believe
what did they say it changed
Pro
by?
Photo
I actually
Josh.
haven't heard that.
This is that was Pro Photo Josh's comment there. I'm just trying to read in on your chat here.
Sure.
It used to be rhubarb. The rotation speed is relative, though.
There's Thuban.
Thubin.
Yeah, Photo Josh. There's no evidence of that at all. That's just a story.
That's speculation, right?
Yeah, now the thing is that I've heard is that if the star's supposed to change every so often, I think they calculated it down to like a half a degree of change after 30 years, and it's been 40
Yeah.
years, and they didn't change it all through the Georgia Guidestones, which is probably why they had to blow up the top part. But
Oh
that's
man.
neither here nor there.
Oh man. Should we dig into that? Goodness, that's a whole interesting thing.
Yeah, people.
The Guidestones.
Yeah, the Guidestones are crazy.
Let's just brush that under the rug really quickly.
Yes, for sure. But what they won't do it to is they won't wreck the pyramids. I'm still waiting for them to wreck the pyramids because they're lining up with the stars for too long. And they're like, but I don't think they want to.
I've heard that. Funny enough, man, I've heard that there has been, I won't say use the term wrecked, but I've heard there has been some stuff done to the pyramids that erased some interesting things. I don't know if it was exactly writing or hieroglyphs or whatever, but there was some stuff done to the pyramids even that were, it was again brushed under the rug. We won't talk about just like it literally looked like an RPG hit the freaking Georgia Guidestones.
Yeah.
And it's the most minimal thing in the news. Like if that happened to a CVS in Chicago, it would be the biggest news story ever. But yeah, no big deal. Just big flare of light followed by
What
a
about the
pretty
time
good size
capsule?
explosion.
I want to know what's in the time capsule.
Underneath of?
Yeah.
Was that underneath the Georgia Guidestones?
Yeah, under the they had a plate,
a
memorial plate,
Yep.
that signed RC, probably for Rosicrucian, and yeah, there was a time capsule under there, and nobody's talking about that. I'd love to dig that up.
Pro Photo Josh says there is actually a video of
Oh,
somebody
nice.
placing the explosives. I have not looked into it since I saw the initial shots fired on it.
Yeah,
So,
drop a
that's
link, Photo
interesting.
Josh. That's actually some good info. I appreciate that.
To the guest, why isn't Polaris visible from the southern hemisphere? Why isn't Polaris visible from the southern hemisphere? Perspective is, if you're asking me, I'm the only guest, but I'm guessing that it would be a perspective thing. Like the same reason that you can't see any location. It's just like you can't see a place far away from your house. I mean, I think there's a lot of things obstructing your view for a lot of these astrological things. I would counter that with, why can I always consistently find the Big Dipper?
Yeah.
And again, as a non-astrologist, it is the easiest thing to find, and it's so consistent. Like, I'm a very simpleton person, and it's never changed. I'm 26 years old. Big Dippers looked very consistent for my entire life. So why, if we're just doing so much movement between the forward hurtling through the galaxy and the rotation, why aren't we seeing at least a slight variation in that? I know there's a time and space difference, but Southern Stars, trying to keep up with the comments. Do you have an astrophysicist in your group? Yeah, no, I wouldn't. This is Chigura Anton. I would definitely listen to anybody, an astrophysicist, but
So
they have been taught by people who are just there. It's money at the end of the day.
So I actually
Sorry.
have some because that's something that comes up quite a bit, and yeah, it is money. There's no astrophysicist that's going to go out and go against the mainstream belief. That name one astrophysicist, any of them that are going vehemently against the mainstream ideas. It's just not feasible. But here are some.
Unless they accidentally do it.
Yeah. Here is
like our good old buddy Neil.
Yeah, Neil. He's fun.
Pretty good at accidentally proving his own facts wrong, or his own supporting theories wrong, I suppose.
Let me read some of these quotes for those who aren't familiar. These are from astrophysicists, scientists, cosmologists, famous ones at that. You probably will know most of the people I'm about to reference. This quote comes from Galileo in a letter to Francesco Ranucci, March 29th, 1641, if you believe in the timelines. It says, "We have certainty regarding the stability of the Earth situated in the center and the motion of the sun around the Earth." There's also one from Edwin Hubble in the Observational Approach to Cosmology. It says redshifts. That's the idea, the lights flickering red, meaning indicating their motion. It says redshifts would imply that we occupy a unique position in the universe, analogous, in a sense, to the ancient conception of the central Earth. This hypothesis cannot be disproved. Then there's one from Stephen Hawking. By the way, I'm not even reading these prior. I'm reading them as they come, and this is how they're reading. So enjoy this, Globers. All this evidence that the universe looks the same whichever direction we look in might seem to suggest there is something special about our place in the universe. In particular, it might seem that if we observe all the other galaxies to be moving away from us, then we must be at the center of the universe. We reject it only on grounds of modesty. So you have Edwin Hubble saying it can't be disproven. You have Stephen Hawking saying we're taking this model on the grounds of modesty. Then we have Paul Davies from In Nature saying, if the Earth were at the center of the universe, the attraction of the surrounding mass of stars would also produce redshifts wherever we look. This theory seems quite consistent with our astronomical observations. So the Earth is at the center of the universe, matching the astronomical observations, according to Paul Davies. Here is George Ellis in Scientific American stating, I can construct you a spherically symmetrical universe with Earth at its center, and you cannot disprove it. We are choosing our models based on philosophical grounds, and a lot of cosmology tries to hide that. So, new results either telling us that the science is wrong and we're the center of the universe, or maybe the data is simply incorrect. That's Lawrence Krauss in 2006. And then another one from Lawrence Krauss in 2009. Without dark energy, Earth must be literally at the center of the universe. which is to say the least unusual. So we have tons of quotes from people who, if you are a Glober, you probably think that they're much smarter than us. And I'd say with quotes like these, it'd be hard to disagree. You know, these are right on the money. So I'd love to hear some opinions on that. Good job.
So there was a great comment that I saw. Somebody kind of sarcastically said, what was the exact
Out of context.
quote here?
Real quick, Probo Josh, if it's out of context, then give us the full context and show us how it changes it, because I've read these quotes in their context. It doesn't change what they mean at all. So good try, though.
So Sandman, I'm not sure what point of view he's coming from, but he said, name a doctor that says smoking cigarettes are good for you, LOL. And that
exactly
is weirdly irrelevant. That kind of just plays into the whole thing of, for how many years were cigarettes promoted to, I'm just going to go Americans. I'm not sure really how the promotion went in other countries, but promoting Americans to, cigarettes are great. They're a weight loss thing, and, they'll help your focus. So we took that all as fact for how many years as Americans. But now, obviously, science has changed and people want to come out and admit different things. And that's just a small scale thing. It's just smoking cigarettes and the effect on your health. So we can't be wrong, or your 6th grade science or 8th grade science book, you can't consider that to potentially be wrong. I don't know.
It's absolutely laughable, especially with everything that's come out now with if you think that the government has your best interests at heart, when they're locking everything down and pushing obvious BS, if you can see that there's obvious BS being pushed, I mean, just think of all the stuff that has gotten up to this point. People don't understand the slow lobster boil. Like, you just noticed it, but you're in the boiling water, buddy.
Yep. Or the frog. Yeah. Gotcha. We have lobsters in Maine too, so lobsters don't like being boiled.
Real quick, asking me to disregard astrophysicists and listen to plumbers talk about the Earth being flat is tough. Yeah, I would find that tough. But what about astrophysicists saying that the Earth is the center of the universe and that can't be disproven? I would like to know what you think about that. You probably have never even considered that before. But I mean, honestly, Earth being at the center of the universe is just as good to me as being flat. So we can start there and then work our way up. But the astrophysicists...
Not to mention, I'm not sure about you, man. This is the first live I've ever been live with you, but I don't have $1 million paycheck to make me feel like I have to push a rhetoric.
Right.
I'm just speaking from my own experiences. I'm not sure about you, but
oh yeah.
So I'm pretty sure your astrophysicist, probably, if they said the wrong thing, I'm not sure who left that comment, they probably get fired. If they probably thought a little bit out of line or started to question their superiors, they get fired. I can have whatever thought I want, frankly. So that's the difference between believing just the average Joe and somebody who
cheese
paid,
only
to go to Harvard, essentially.
I just wanted to address this real quick because this is hilarious.
Yeah.
Bro, this is cheese only. Bro, that center of the universe thing is just relating to a universal reference frame. And the reference frame is the universe. They're saying we're at the center of it. How is that any different than what we're saying? You're just not getting it, man. You just gotta think about it for a little bit and understand that you're really not disagreeing with us.
I was gonna say, it almost seems like he's on the right path.
It just means any location in the universe looks like the center of the universe. No, that's not what that means. That's not what they said. That's not what the quotes are saying. So not one quote in there that we read said that.
Profoto is just asking again, you can prove the shape of the Earth all by yourself. I would love to see it, Pro. I mean, if you could do that, if you could get me some good footage of Antarctica, man, I'm hoping to go there at some point in my life, but I don't think it will ever happen because it's impossible, because nobody wants us there. And it's not because of the penguins, Profoto, Josh. That's right. Not what they're keeping I'm not going to step on some penguin babies if I go to Antarctica. I think there's some bigger fish to fry, if you will, over there.
I love this one. Keurig Anton, would you take medical advice from a physician or a welder? The earth is round. Science is our friend. I will level with you that the
Oh
scientific
my
method
goodness.
is a good method for figuring out
Ooh.
things that are true and discounting things that are not true. However, if you're suggesting that the
Right.
earth being round is scientific, my friend, you are sorely mistaken. It is pseudoscientific at best. It has the appearance of being scientific, but I mean, the cosmologists themselves say, I mean, Michio Kaku said it himself, nobody in my field does the scientific method. It's all guesswork, equations, and flying by the seat of our pants. So if that's what you think is science, you know, we have just different definitions for it, right?
Right.
As far as like who I'd take
Not to
medical advice
mention,
from,
man.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah, medical
Yes,
advice.
go ahead.
Probably the last people that I'd take
Well,
medical advice from is the Rockefeller Medical Foundation, paid
yeah.
chill
The people who want
hospitals
to
that get
feed
paid to
you
keep us
pills and
sick.
make you choke them down and get caught up in the most worst cycle of taking pills in the world. That So yeah, physicians, they're really great.
Medical
That's
malpractice,
who I trust. I'm being sarcastic, by the way.
medical issues or mistakes is like the number 3 cause of death in the world. Why on earth would you? Why on earth would you trust them with your medical advice? Let's see here.
I'm
Of course, we
walking a
don't give
very
any medical advice,
sharp
just so you
line
guys
here.
know, a little disclaimer. We don't give any medical, financial advice or,
No.
religious advice or anything like that. Everybody's got to do their own research and make up their own minds. This is all commentary. So,
All for
covering our bases.
entertainment. This is all for entertainment value.
Absolutely. Pro Photo Josh, you finally made it in. Welcome.
Pro photo.
How's it going?
Did you just get that 1,000th follower, or
No, I've had 1,000 followers for a few months.
I'm just having some fun with you? What's going on?
All good, all good. So, as far as Antarctica goes, did you guys know that there is a sailing race that circumnavigates Antarctica every year?
I did. I'm glad you brought
It-
that up.
Okay. Did you know that there was a woman that cross country skied across the center of Antarctica? I believe it was in 2016 or 2017.
That I
Went
didn't know.
dead center across the pole.
She,
Yep. I forget her
she
name
claimed to. She
offhand.
claimed to.
It's a legend, but
No, she had a whole in order to. I mean, part of the reason that you can't just go and explore on your own is because of the extreme conditions. So, in order for her to
Right.
cross country ski across it, she had to have a whole team.
sure.
There
Right.
was
A team of a production team, if you will.
all right. If you want to claim that, fine, but that's just denying the evidence
Well, the
that
last
exists.
time, you'll have to forgive us for the
But okay,
skepticism, because the last time somebody claimed to circumnavigate south to east and claimed to go through Antarctica, not
You mean
only did they
north to
not,
south,
yeah, not only
south
did
to
they not
east?
do that, but the person who did it was actually got convicted of
Look
what was it, conning, like literally trying to fraud the
look
medical
up one
insurance
last
and
orbit.
fake stunts.
Look up one last orbit. That's the last one that I know about where they circumnavigated the Earth by starting
is
in the
that like a
north, going
TV?
south, and
Is that a title of a show that you just gave me?
no, that is the
Last orbit.
title of the. There was a group of guys that took a plane, circumnavigated from north to south, over the South Pole, over the North Pole, and circumnavigated around the entire globe.
But what I'm
They
getting at is this was produced as some sort of entertainment
No, they video. So here's what I don't
for
understand.
entertainment value.
No, here's what
Yeah.
I don't understand. Let me finish.
Yes, sir.
Everybody on the flat Earth side claims they want proof. They need this video, they need that photo, whatever. But now when I say, hey, there's this video, there's this evidence, there's this, then it's just, oh, that's entertainment value. That's not real.
So I'll go ahead and level with you, Josh. A lot of flat earthers that I know will not take pictures and video as evidence. What we want as evidence is access to Antarctica to be able to conduct the experiment where we can travel
And
along
you can
Antarctica and make sure that
totally
it's a
go.
continent or a ring, whichever it is.
Anyone can apply for a job literally at the South Pole. Any country
Anyone
that
can
is
apply, but you're not going to get the job. Not everybody's going to get that
dude,
job.
there's
I can tell you
literally
that.
been babies born on Antarctica.
They've been.
There have
That's fine.
literally born
There's
there.
probably babies born on Epstein's Island, but I probably
I
don't
would say
trust going
this:
there.
people colonizing and living on the edge of the shore, like towards the edge of the shoreline
No,
of
I'm talking about
Antarctica.
literally on. I'm talking literally on the South Pole. There is a base literally on the South Pole.
What's it called?
There's
There,
McMurdo, and I forget what the other
Mercado
one's
is not
called.
on the South Pole. Mercado's
I,
on the coast in the
No,
mountains.
McMurdo. There's McMurdo, and then the second one is on the South Pole. Off the top of my head, I forget what the other one's called, but it is literally on the South Pole.
South
They have
Pole.
I
time
am
lapse of
familiar
it
with the
being built.
research base that they claim is on the South Pole, but
That's all that's
I,
done at
Amundsen?
Antarctica is research. That's what the entire treaty is about.
Are you talking about
Research.
Amundsen?
Talking about what?
okay.
Amundsen Scott South Pole Station?
Yeah, Scott base.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Host, may I bring it back to the basics real quick
Sure.
while you search that? So Profit or Pro Photo Josh, I would like to know why, out of all the places, I mean, the Earth, whether it's round or it's a flat shape, is a beautiful place, right?
I
So
know
we
exactly
definitely
what
have
you're going to
restricted air.
ask. The reason Antarctica is the only place where this
Thank you.
treaty exists
Why?
is
See, it's kind of
because
funny.
it is one of the few places on Earth that no one lived there and it was claimed by no country. The North
Nobody.
Pole has a lot, and the Arctic has a lot of countries that already lay a claim to it. Antarctica had no one laying a claim to it. If you read the entire Antarctic Treaty, it doesn't
So
say anything about people not going there. And as a matter of fact, if your country is not a part of the treaty doesn't apply to you. So, like, I'm sure you guys know of Maria. Maria lives in Denmark. Denmark isn't a part of a part of the treaty. Technically, she could go there and do whatever the hell she wanted, and nothing's going to happen to her.
do you really think
Technically,
that would be the case, man? Do you really,
100%,
in your heart of
100%,
hearts, I would like to ask you, Josh, do you think that would be the case? That Maria, the Swedish, she could just take a little sailboat there and set up cabin? She's good to
if
go.
if
Do you
she
think
so
that's the case?
desired to, yes. If she so
Okay.
desired to,
Do
yes.
you think it would ever actually be possible? You don't think she'd ever be stopped? You don't think she'd ever run
Have
into
you ever
some
been on
sort of?
Maria's Live when Russ is on there? Do you know Russ?
Yeah, I'm good. I
Okay,
am good
Russ
friends with
has
Russ. Yeah.
literally been there. He
He claims to
circumnavigated.
have been there.
Okay,
He has done deliveries.
but
He has
here's the
done
thing, man.
deliveries there. He
But
has no proof
basically, what you're
of as
saying
to
to
where he
anything that is
was.
presented is nuh-uh.
Yeah. No. Well, because I question
Yeah, that
everything, man. Yeah.
sure,
Is
question
that?
everything. I am 100% behind questioning everything. But when
Yeah.
people have experienced these things, you need to eventually accept the answers.
So how about this?
Oh my. Okay, dude.
Just,
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Optic. I just real
Host,
quick
go
wanted to
ahead.
point out.
You're good, bro.
So
You're good.
I know that you say like we got to account for experiences, but the issue that we have is that Globers really seem to not take in the evidences that Flat Earth puts forward. And the reason I know what you're going to say is that's because it's not real evidence. It can be debunked. But here's something that you can't debunk. Here's something that's just an absolute fact. The people who traveled by sea back in the day had to have directions correct. Otherwise, they're going to
They
get
use
lost
the
at sea.
sextant.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not even going there. I know that
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole other argument too, but I'm not even going to
Mm-hmm.
go there. All I'm saying is that if we can agree that they had their distances correct when they were traveling, Magellan and Cook had Antarctica clocked at over 60,000 miles around. which is completely different than the modern day rim of what is supposed to be Antarctica. I think now it's like 14,000 to 16,000. I might be wrong, but correct me if I'm wrong on that. So they're completely different. Now, you brought up circumnavigation. I think that's something that's really, really important, because I do think that one of the ways that can lead to us getting more toward the bottom of this is the circumnavigation of Antarctica. So if we can verify that somebody actually was able to do that, and it's something that can be repeated, then that's something that we can start repeating, and then the flat Earth would go away if it's untrue. The problem is that we have people that have circumnavigated that clocked it way larger than that, and now it is a real thing. It's not a conspiracy theory at all. It's just a fact. If you take a boat past the 60-degree parallel, regardless of what country you're coming from, once you pass the 60-degree south parallel, you will be stopped by battleships. And it's not an exaggeration to say that they are
And
battleships.
that video has been proven wrong many times. There was a submarine running its drills in the area. If you watch that video, they did not say turn around and go back to where you came from. They said leave the area, and they went around and continued on to where they were going. Australia or New Zealand or one of those countries was working in the Southern Ocean, running drills with their submarine. The same with everybody also claims that, there was a plane trying to fly there, and it was a Cessna. A Cessna is not going to make it from any of the countries that it could leave from to Antarctica. That was actually debunked, and it was a local news crew showing what would happen if a plane entered in airspace that was shut down due to the president being in the area. And they had, as part of the glitz and glam of the news, they had fighter planes come up beside them and show them this is what would happen if a plane entered in. Because wherever Air Force One is, that airspace gets shut down. I live in Florida, right by where Trump used to go in Mar-a-Lago. He landed Air Force One at a tiny-ass little airport. Whenever Air Force One was there, the entire airspace around that was shut down. That's what that was about.
Well, I was
so all of those videos have other explanations for them that are factual and can be proven.
So let me just level with you then. So assuming that what you're saying is true, flat earthers go and get their own boat, right? And go attempt to do this. You're saying they're not going to be stopped by battleships?
Nope. And
Okay.
as a matter of fact, there was a 747 pilot who offered to fly directly dead center over the South Pole.
I know why they didn't do that, and the reason why they didn't do that is there was something similar that happened with I can't remember the guy's name. I think it was Sapien.
Fine, they were worried about their money being stolen.
Yeah, you can't blame them for that.
No, I'm not blaming them for that. But the fact that a real life 747 pilot is saying, "Hey, I can do this. Let's go do that."
No,
doesn't that raise a red flag?
That's not true, Provo Josh. Simply saying that you can do something and doing something are entirely different. You know, I can say that I can fly. It doesn't mean that I can fly. I have to actually demonstrate it. So he might actually believe, again, this is where I don't like to call people liars or shills or anything like that. I think people really believe a lot of the stuff that they say. And I think that he really believes that he can do it. I think that he hasn't actually tried to get the permissions to do so. There's a reason why there's only like there's only like 2 or 3 major companies that handle all of the travel to Antarctica. And I believe they're all owned by the same umbrella company. So it's actually might just be one company that controls the entire travel to Antarctica. And the reason why that is, it's actually not even a conspiracy either. It's because they want to protect the Antarctic landscape. So they don't let...
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
That's the entire point of the treaty.
So here's the thing, though. I completely agree with you that that's a thing and that treaty is in place. But it's extremely inconvenient because now there's a flat Earth conspiracy. And the best way to debunk this flat Earth conspiracy to everybody's satisfaction would be to open up Antarctica, not even the full time. Open it up for a month. Give us the ability to check it out ourselves,
Yep.
to put the whole thing to
But
bed.
do you literally think any company, any space agency, any government, any of that actually cares about this debate? The only people that care about this debate are people like you and me. NASA could give two shits about flat Earth.
They don't. No, they care. They just have so much dog in the fight that they don't have to seem
They
like they
don't.
care. And they have
Dude,
listen, they don't care because what their side of the fight has been taught to you for 10 plus years. They don't have to care, man.
10 plus years?
It's not.
NASA's been around for
Well,
well
I
over
mean,
They're talking
just
about in
at least
school.
minimally being at school is what I'm talking about. The rhetoric that you've been forced down your throat.
Have
going
you
to just
ever
general,
been to a
assuming you're in the U.S.
Have you ever been to a NASA
going to
facility or met an astronaut?
So I'm glad that you brought that up.
Because I have.
My mother actually worked at Space
I
Center
don't want
Houston
to.
for
I
5
do not
years.
want to meet a dirty Masonic astronaut that probably
Okay, well,
has
women
some
can't be
really weird
Masons.
stuff. I'm good.
Women can't be
okay.
Masons.
Women
so
have their own Masonic club. It's not called the Masons, but they do have their own club. But I'm not even saying that. My
Yes.
mom, the fact is, my mom wasn't a Mason. She worked at NASA. She wasn't an astronaut, but she did work at NASA.
Yep.
She was a tour guide, so she wasn't like a scientist or anything. I'm not going to say she worked on satellites or anything like that. She was a tour guide. But the thing about being a tour guide is that you get to travel the facility, you get to hear all the ins and outs, you get to hear the bullshit. My mom fully acknowledged that part of their spiel was to exaggerate and bullshit a little bit, to hype up and sell the space idea. She admitted that they do
had to go over.
They have a blue screen pool, straight up. Like, in their training pool. I asked her point blank. I was like, Mom, there's a flat earth conspiracy. They're saying they're doing it in a green screen. Is there a green screen pool? And she said, no, it's not a green screen. It's a blue screen. I was like, oh,
okay.
shit.
Well, as you can probably tell from my name, I am a professional photographer. If you're going to shoot underwater, and this is provable, you can look up the photos from space. You can look up from ISS and the photos of the same astronauts training in the pool. Do you know what the difference is between their heads in the pool and their heads in space? In the pool, their heads are super tiny because of the way the water and their helmets are going to be. In space, their heads actually balloon up. What the hell is it called? I think they call it fat.
And there's
fat
no
head
possible
syndrome.
way to correct for that? It's absolutely impossible to correct that?
So there are videos from the ISS hours long, like uncut hours. Do you know how hard everybody nowadays?
You're talking to the wrong person about those spacewalks, because I have watched those and they do a whole lot of nothing. It's very, very funny to watch.
No, I'm talking. So there's tours of the ISS that are hours long. When an astronaut first goes up into space, all of the blood rushes to their head. Their face turns red. They either call it fat head syndrome or puffy head syndrome because their heart is used to pumping against gravity. Now they're in low gravity, and all the blood's rushing to their head, and it takes several
So they
days for
couldn't
their
just be
bodies
hanging
to
upside
adjust.
down from like a harness or something?
No, because
it's
how
impossible.
are they going to be hanging upside? So have you ever watched a tour video of the ISS?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever seen where the one I've watched and shown my daughters, there's a woman floating around. She's like, oh, yeah, look at this. We can sleep on the ceiling. We can sleep left. We can sleep right. And she's going through portals. If she's going to be on wires, there is absolutely no way she can make the maneuvers she's making without the wires getting in the way. If you're going to claim
with a multi-billion-dollar assuming
so they can't green
can
screen
use
that
much money.
Take a look at a Marvel movie. How long does it take to produce a Marvel movie? And they have hundreds of millions of dollars behind them. How long does it take to produce?
NASA got $65 million a day.
Times that by 100, and how long
Right.
does it
And
take
what
to
all
produce
is
a
NASA doing?
movie?
You have to look into all the facilities that NASA has, all of the equipment
Yeah.
they have, all of the people they're
Do you see how from our
CGI?
side it kind of looks like your side just makes excuses for things that are funny?
No, it's so. But that's
Come on, dude.
that's
I mean,
the
It seems like
maddening
you
you're
got to
thing.
see
One
in
of
how
the
it goes
yourself
reasons
both
into
I
a
ways. I
don't.
mean,
corner,
we can be
man.
honest about it. I
I
mean, you
am
think
a.
that we make
I am.
assumptions that are outlandish. We think that you make assumptions that are outlandish.
I'm not making an assumption on this. I am. I've been doing this for
You're
25 years.
assuming that the
I am.
NASA stuff is legit, and like NASA admits that they have harnesses. We've literally seen the guy on video on a freaking harness. They don't argue with us
You
that they're
literally
harnesses.
have it,
They
and
say
they
that the
literally
harnesses are for
have it.
safety. You're probably not up to date with the
You
debate.
do.
The harnesses say they're
Do
for
you
safety.
do you under? Every astronaut that goes up there takes their cell phone up there. They shoot their own video that is not released to the public. I've met Buzz Aldrin. I've spent a half day with Buzz Aldrin. I've met several
You
ISS
saw his
astronauts.
iPhone footage?
Buzz Aldrin apparently told Alex Jones that the space program was fake, but it was fake because they were hiding aliens.
So he apparently told that
Yeah.
to Alex Jones.
That's
And you think Alex
yeah.
Jones is a reputable source?
Oh,
The
absolutely
man
not.
Yeah.
who claims every school shooting has crisis actors.
They
I
do. I
live right
mean,
Oh
next to Parkland,
man.
no,
Florida.
no, come on.
I
Don't
Man,
blend the
for the
lines.
school
It
shooting.
is true that they use crisis
Yeah, we
actors.
won't
I'm
go
not
into
going to
that.
say that it didn't
Oh,
happen,
We won't go
motherfucker!
into that.
but
No,
they do
I
use
live next
crisis
to
actors.
Parkland, Florida. I have personally been at
Bro,
the homes of those people.
I'm in
They
Lakeland,
are not
Florida.
fucking
Your
crisis
location
actors.
in Florida does not mean, like, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm
Have
not
you ever
saying
met
that.
Have you ever met someone from a mass shooting at a school?
No.
That is the most fucking disrespectful bullshit on the face of the
To
planet.
say that
On the face of the
there
motherfucker.
are some crisis
Yes, because
actors,
those children were actually fucking
I'm not
killed.
saying that they weren't.
I was there.
I'm not saying that
I
they
was
weren't.
fucking there. I
So
live 10 minutes from
listen,
Parkland,
dude, I think
Florida.
you're getting very emotional about something that nobody even
Yeah,
said.
Yeah.
because if you're going to claim that
I'm not saying it didn't happen. Don't put words in my mouth. I'm not saying kids didn't die. I'm not saying there wasn't a shooter. I'm not saying it wasn't a tragedy. I'm not saying it wasn't bullshit, right? It was some bullshit what happened. But if you don't think that the news likes to add crisis actors to
I'm
make
a
it even
professional
more,
journalist, my friend. I do this for a living.
so
That
there's
is
no
the
crisis
lamest.
actors. So we
No,
haven't
there
seen the
So you're
isn't.
same
the last
actor in
person to
There
multiple
say.
is not.
places.
There is
Okay,
not.
so we're
Hey,
The
just
news
lying.
goes
troubling
out and
Tribune
So we're
turns on
just
their
lying.
cameras.
We can.
Yes, you are.
I'm gonna put a clip.
100%.
I'm gonna put a clip now tomorrow, just because you brought this up, of the same actors that, or no, I'm not. Again, I'm not saying that these things didn't happen. I'm not saying they're not tragedies, bro. So don't get it twisted. But if you think
Do
that
you
the news
also know what? Do you
doesn't
also
try to
realize what
embellish and
happens
make
now?
things more than what they, even
Do
more
you
so,
also
I mean, come
realize
on.
what happens now that we have so many shootings in the U.S.? There is a whole group of people. There is a family from Las Vegas that lost their daughter during the Las Vegas shooting during the Batman movie. They literally, every time there's a mass shooting, they travel around. And you know what they end up doing? Hugging and crying people. There is a whole group of people that travel around to every freaking shooting. Whole group. And the
Sure.
little kid from Sandy Hook that was claimed to also have been killed in India, the reason that was a claim was because the Indian people were holding up his picture in solidarity,
Well,
because they were like, yeah, this kid died. We know all this is all provable. So
Troubling
if you're going to
Tribune.
use Alex
On that note,
Jones,
this is
who
out of my
yeah,
ballpark here because like the gun thing, this is where it really starts to get into circles. I followed you, man. Thank you for
sure.
hosting this. I'm gonna peace out, go get something to eat. Appreciate it, Josh. I wish you the best, man. But I hope you could just be more open-minded and kind of look into things a little bit deeper sometimes. I
hey,
understand your point of view,
so
though.
on
Take
on
her easy,
on
guys.
that note, here's what I would suggest. I'm 100% behind open-mindedness and questioning things, but when an answer is presented, that answer should also be accepted. Just saying nuh-uh to the answer when you can follow it up with actual proof, measurements, and repeatability,
Sure.
that's the thing. And
Sure.
anyone listening to this now, can prove the shape of the Earth. You can prove the distance of the moon. You can prove the distance of the sun.
Pro
All
photo
by
Josh,
yourself.
you're saying things that are just not true. The fact is that
100% true.
so you don't even know. Do you know about scaling invariance?
Yes.
What is scaling invariance?
So how big something is and the variables that are going to present themselves when you're doing any of these experiments.
So scaling invariance specifically is the idea that it actually has to do with the mathematical law. When you're dealing with angular sizes of objects in the distance, the idea is that if you have something that's a specific angular size, if you kept the dimensions the same, then the math would still be accurate. In other words, you could double the size of the object, but double the distance as well, and the mathematics still work out. Scaling invariances work out for the solar system in about 40 different models, all of which place the sun and moon over like 5,000 miles. So there's tons of ways that the math could work. That's why the math isn't really the reality.
Have you ever listened to Blitz, PhD?
Yeah, I've actually had a debate with a PhD last week.
Okay. So obviously he's a mathematical physicist with a PhD in mathematical physics. He has explained this several times. I don't know if he explained it to you. Instead of doing the Eratosthenes experiment with sticks, he does it with wells. When he did the experiment, he assumed a small local sun on a flat Earth. He did the experiment, and the experiment disproved his assumption. The mathematics don't work out in any way when it comes to doing things like this. It only works out in one way. It disproves a flat Earth
The
and a
thing
local
is,
sun.
I would of course appreciate viewing the full thing, but from my understanding, the length of the shadows is not going to be able to prove it. And I know his argument is that the relationship between the shadows is different. He couldn't explain the specific difference, but he said something along the lines of there was a linear relation when looking at a spherical object, and there was I can't remember what the other one was, to be completely honest with you, but there was a different type of relationship in relation to that. What I asked PhD Blitz to do was to demonstrate that the shadows would in fact work on a flat surface the way that he is saying. And I don't know if he just didn't have time or we just moved on to another subject, but long of it, short of it was I never seen it. I have not verified that the shadows would indeed act completely different. And even if they would act different on a flat surface, there's other things that go into this that are not being accounted for that actually the globe side has brought in, such as refraction of light. If we're not dealing with straight lines with our light, which if we're talking about, refracting through the atmosphere, then we'd have to agree on that. Then how are we determining the true lines of these lights that we're seeing when they're obviously not going to the true location because they're bent? You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but all light coming through the atmosphere is going to be refracted the same way locally. If you have parallel lines of light coming in through the same atmosphere locally, they're going to be refracted
No,
and
we're
remain
not,
parallel
Provo. We're
locally.
not talking about local though. We're talking about an experiment that's going to span a country or maybe even a couple countries. This is not a local thing that we're
Right,
talking
but
about.
one measurement is you're doing 3 measurements. Each measurement is done locally. So it's still parallel light
We were saying,
locally.
so even if if it has to be, what's the shortest distance you think it would have to be to work? Because it's acknowledged that it's not going to work for short distances. It has to be a long distance. So
Offhand, I wouldn't even claim to
if we
want
do,
to give you a number.
let's just say if we even did
But I know it can be done
Eratosthenes.
within the states. I
Sure,
know it can be
but I'm
done
saying
within the
what
states.
I would say, Provo, is that unless you're talking about like a mile radius, we're not talking about, or even a couple miles, we're not talking about local. We're talking about continental. We're talking about thousands of miles away. At least 500, I would say, to be a good experiment, at least 500 miles away. So we're not talking really about a local. We're talking about a widespread area with different atmospheric conditions, different air densities, different refraction indexes, and
Right, but
especially
each measurement that you take locally, light is going to be like it. Let's say, for instance, just hypothetical here, you do a measurement in Pennsylvania, you do a measurement in Illinois, you do a measurement in Wyoming. The light at the location in Pennsylvania is all going to be parallel. The light in Ohio is going to be different. The light in Wyoming is going to be different. The air densities between those three locations, especially depending on where the sun is, which is really the whole point of the experiment, is the angle of the sun. And I know, like if you started, let's say Ohio, it's noon, so the sun is directly overhead. Obviously, if the sun's in Ohio and you're measuring in Pennsylvania, the shadow is going to go one way, the shadow in Wyoming is going to go the other way. So locally, the air density is going to be the same. Obviously, at any point on Earth, unless you're in a country that is completely devoid of humidity, completely devoid of, if it's the Saharan desert or something, then you're likely to have more of the same air density throughout because there's going to be less moisture in the air in those areas. But that isn't the suggestion. So even when Eratosthenes originally did it with 2 sticks, the air densities were going to be different. But locally, if light is being bent, it's going to be bent the same locally. It's not just one ray, it's not just 2 rays, it's all the light that you're
so
seeing
I think
locally is being bent.
I think you may be missing what the issue is, and it's totally easy to see how it can get missed. But here's the issue, right? Because we're dealing with again, we're not dealing with super local. We're dealing with a pretty good distance. I'm
No,
sure that you've seen.
I completely understand what you're saying. You're saying that if the light in Pennsylvania is bent, but not in Ohio and Wyoming, then that
No,
draws
no, no,
into
no. It can
question
be
the
bending in
entire
all.
experiment.
It can be bending in all states. It doesn't matter. The point is that it's a bent line. So how are you able to triangulate anything from the bent line?
They've been so you can look up the Eratosthenes project online. The Eratosthenes project has been done all over the globe by 30,000 people just measuring on their own. So, like you and I can go out tomorrow. I can measure from my yard in Florida. You can measure from your yard in wherever and add our data to that. It is then compiled and it all points 30,000 measurements over the years. Like the Eratosthenes.
But the Eratosthenes project is also done with the presupposition that the Earth is a ball and that the sun is a
But I told you
almost
Blitz did
infinite
it
distance.
assuming. I told you Blitz did it assuming that it was flat and local. He assumed when he and his class, or I'm not sure if he did it while he was a teacher or while he was an undergrad or during grad school. He did it, and they assumed flat plane local sun at this height.
Yeah,
And it disproved.
I'm just not, because I get that it's said that it's disproved, and I get that the proof that you guys are looking at is the difference in how the shadows would act. I have not seen any good
No, when
evidence.
he did it, it was with wells, and it had nothing to do with shadows. It had to do with how much light was entering in each well. Instead of using sticks, use wells. So if
I
we're doing
don't.
Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wyoming,
You're gonna have to forgive
one of
me.
them.
I'm not understanding how the sun being from in a different position, which would happen either on a flat or a ball, because if you're using a well, the light's got to shine down into the well, and you're judging by how much light is shining into the well. I mean, literally all that I can gather from that, and again, I might just be dumb, but the only thing that I'm gathering from that is that the sun is in a different position per
You're
user.
not measuring the shadow. You're measuring the angle to the sun.
But the angle to the sun is going to be different per observer, regardless of if it's flat or a ball.
Only if it's two. Only if it's two reference points.
No, that's
the
just
third reference point.
But how does the
third
third change? How does the third make it any more viable? Explain that, please.
I wish I was a smarter man. I've heard this explained before. Right now,
Could it
So
be
let's-
possible, though? Isn't it possible, though, that even with a third person, it's still true that the sun is in a different location per observer, and that's going to affect the light output? I mean, that's just seems
right.
obvious.
The way I look at it, and maybe this is an easier way to explain it because it doesn't have anything to do with the light. And I think this is a correlation of the same thing. So if you take the moon, you have 3 observers. For one observer, the moon is 90 degrees above them. The second observer, the moon is 30 degrees above the horizon. The third observer, the moon is 15 degrees above the horizon. If it was a flat Earth, for all 3 people, the moon is going to change size. If the moon is the same size at those 3 observations at the same time, it can't be local, and if it were local, it would be different sizes. So it has to be
I think there's a
a non-local
misconception.
moon on a curved Earth.
I think that's a little bit of a misconception too. I think that regardless of what model we're dealing with, that we're still dealing with something that's relatively far away. I know that the flat earthers say relatively close sun, and it is compared to the the heliocentric model. But we're still dealing with something that is, even if it's apparent, meaning a light phenomena, not physical, which I'm not going to say it's 100% one way or the other. We can't test it to know. But it's still something that's very large, and it's still something that's very far away.
Mm-hmm.
So with that,
you're different than most flat earthers then, because most flat earthers will say the sun and moon are very local, and the sun is only 30 miles
well, it
across.
is in comparison. I don't really disagree with them. It is in comparison to the heliocentric model, for sure. But with something that's still very large and still very far away, it doesn't have to be millions of miles to be far enough away to not see very much angular size change. And the angular size change can also be made up for with refraction. There's actually a box experiment that you can do. It's not 100% because, again, in order for anything to be 100% scientific, you have to isolate variables, repeat the experiment, and basically take away everything that you can to narrow down the cause of something. But it is a unique observation. They put a lens in like a box and has the Chicago skyline. You can put a little cardboard cutout sun, and you can actually demonstrate on a flat surface with the sun not changing elevation at all. You can demonstrate that not only will it appear to set, but it will also not change angular size. So with the refraction that we can both agree is happening in the atmosphere, it's extremely possible that, and likely actually, when you look at the moon and sun at the horizon, I mean, isn't it huge most of the time? Isn't it like blown up and magnified and sometimes even maybe even a little distorted? So
only if you look at it with your naked eye. If you put a solar filter on it, it doesn't change.
Well, I'm talking about the moon. And even the sun too. The sun does look pretty magnified. But when you're talking like, let's just take the sun out of it and let's just talk about the moon. It's no secret that when you look at the moon, especially like it's easier to see with harvest moons and stuff, it's always really low on the horizon. The moon looks really blown up, sometimes even miscolored, sometimes slightly misshapen. But as it moves throughout the night, it actually becomes more perfectly circular, goes back to its normal looking size, and then it'll do it again when it gets back to the edge of the other horizon.
Right, we're just looking through more atmosphere.
Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to say. That can explain why we don't see the changing in angular size with these objects and with them not actually physically setting. They can literally be moving further away, and the atmospheric refraction can be causing the effect that we see.
But if you photograph the moon or videotape, or not the moon, the sun throughout the day with a solar filter, it never changes. If you do it throughout the year, it never changes
We're
size.
talking about.
Even when it's
So besides that, though, I mean, we're talking about the moon for a second, right? The moon. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. The
right.
moon magnifies.
The sun is an easier example to show
Does
that
a
it is just atmosphere
does the
making the moon look bigger, because the moon doesn't put off its own light.
well?
If you use a solar filter, the sun will not change size.
So okay, so now I'm glad that you're saying this because I'm actually building to a point. So if you actually look this up with the moon, apparently because it does look bigger. I did say that it looks bigger on the horizon. It's actually known that
Mm-hmm.
that's an optical illusion. That it's not actually bigger.
Mm-hmm.
If you take like I think they say take a paper with a little hole in it that doesn't change sizes, you can put that
Right.
to the moon and you can prove that it's actually not changing size.
We agree.
Well, okay, great. So the thing is that the terrestrial experiment that we have, observation that we have, shows that it will not change angular size and that it will appear to set, even when sliding overhead on a completely flat surface, not changing elevation. So although it might literally be changing sizes, we're not seeing that because the refraction in the atmosphere, which we can acknowledge definitely happens because we see it affect the moon, obviously.
Agreed. I agree that refraction happens closer to the horizons. And that is so the horizon obviously is going to change no matter depending on where you are on Earth. Obviously, my horizon is different than your horizon, is different than Maria's horizon, whatever. But yes, when you're looking out towards the edge of what you can see on Earth, yes, you're going to be looking through thicker atmosphere. 100% agree.
Okay.
But you also have to discount a lot of other stuff to say one we've measured the moon, or the distance to the sun.
Well,
That's been done many
the
times.
distance. So I know that this is going to be hard to hear, but the distance to the sun has been triangulated with the assumption of a certain size sphere of Earth, and it is also.
I'm not talking about triangulation though.
So how did we get the distance then without triangulating it?
They used a very specific frequency of radar that could not be repeated by anybody else, and they shot radar at the sun over the course of decades, thousands of times. They did it when the sun was in the sky. They did it during night when the sun wasn't in the sky. So they could prove that the return that they were getting from that radar was legitimately bouncing off of the sun, and it
So
worked out exactly correct every
the
single time.
the issue with that is, and I know that you already know probably what I'm going to say with it. The issue is that it's a very specific radar signal that you even acknowledge that nobody else can use. In order to detect it, you need extremely specific equipment. You're going to need the ability to detect it, and then on top of that, you have to rely on their word that all was legit in the first
But
place. Who was the entity that
so
actually conducted
if
the
if
experiment?
Erit if Eratosthenes, you can do it yourself. If parallax, you can do it yourself. If
Parallax
all of
cannot be
these,
done yourself. The degrees of the stars are less than 0.01 degree. You can't see it with your naked eye. You have to have special equipment.
Do you know Globy McGlobeface?
Of course, I've actually debated him. I think twice now.
Right. He did parallax with the moon. Didn't assume anything. Just did the parallax with the moon. He got within a reasonable amount of distance that the moon was. I think he got like 220,000 miles when it's supposed to be 238,000 miles, something
Assuming
along those
assuming
lines.
the stars are an infinite distance. or
Yeah.
so he didn't take
it's very easy to do.
So what about
my point is if you're going to say the radar measurements are incorrect, we can't trust those because we
it's
can't do them.
unrepeatable. I would say that
It
it's
is repeatable.
well, not unless
It
you're
is
going through the
repeatable.
authority. Is it repeatable for the common man? And then how do we know that we're actually bouncing it off the sun and not something, before that, not something off the atmosphere?
Well, I explained that because they did it over decades and they repeated it thousands of times to make sure that yes, this is coming from the sun. It's not coming from any other celestial body. When we shoot it out into the night sky and absolutely nothing is there, we don't get any return. When the sun's there, we get this return. Repeat, 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 repeat thousands of times. They got it. If the 93 million miles lines up with all the stuff we can do, if we get into that ballpark, obviously when you're with any measurements, whether you're building a house, measuring a piece of paper, or measuring the distance to the moon, there's going to be a margin of error. If we're within the margin of error with the stuff we can do, and then we compare it to what scientists who have the money to do this, who are supported by universities, and by the way, that measurement wasn't done by anybody with NASA, it was just university scientists.
No,
If
you mean
all
the
of that
universities
lines
that are
up,
funded by Rothschild and Rockefeller?
yeah, because all universities are funded
Just
by
about
these two families that run the world.
6 families, but yeah, just about. I mean, that's
Yeah.
not a conspiracy either. They say it's philanthropy. They say they do it because they love
Yet
us.
all those universities pump out scientists that we believe in every day, like heart scientists,
You guys do.
cancer
We
scientists.
don't.
Yeah, because if you have a heart attack, you're not going to go to a hospital and beg the doctor to fix you. Of course you are. Let's not be crazy. If you are in a car accident, you break your arm, you have a heart attack, you have cancer, you're going to go to a doctor to save your
So
life.
I would level that if I broke my arm, I'd probably go to a doctor. If I had a heart attack, I'd probably go to a doctor because I'd rather somebody cut that clot out of me than just die from it. But as far as like trusting them on like the chemicals and all that shit, I don't actually. I think medical malpractice kills tons of people.
But
It's the
you're
third leading
proving my
cause of
point.
death.
Whether or not you want to believe in pharmaceuticals,
Well, I just have
you're
no
proving
choice.
my
Nobody
point.
else is going to take a clot out of my heart. If I had another option, I would probably do that. But the last people I'd want to go are to the people who admittedly want to keep me sick so that they can keep taking my money for the pills.
Doctors do not want to keep you sick. I was just working with oncologists today, so
I don't think
yeah.
that the doctors specifically want to do that. I think the institution that teaches them wants them to do that, and I think that they're taught in a way that makes them do that.
Absolutely not. Most of them use chemotherapy as a last resort, and a lot of them are using immunotherapy now, which has nothing to do with chemotherapy.
Okay, yeah, because chemotherapy, I mean, you probably already know I have problems with that. It's like 99% failure rate. It's not good.
Well, cancer is also very, very personal. All diseases, even a heart attack, is very personal to that person. That's why science doesn't deal with facts. It never has. It never will.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Science either provides evidence towards something or disproves something, and it's the same with medicine. It either provides evidence that, hey, this works most of the time, or it says, no, this doesn't work at all.
Right. And I obviously can't talk too much about the medical stuff because, I mean, I'm sure the medical stuff is censored super duper hard, but there are definitely some concerning studies. One of the things that I started doing when I started having kids was I started actually demanding for the actual studies that they quote when they're talking about medicines that are supposedly safe and effective. And you'll actually find, even you, I think, would find that the information they provide, utterly lackluster, to be honest. They don't provide the evidence that it's safe, and sometimes they even provide evidence that it's not, and they just simply still do it anyway, and then just disagree. But that's neither here nor there. That's really not a subject I want to touch on because I like to keep my channel. So
the only reason I brought it up is that you were saying Rothschilds, blah blah blah.
Sure.
But if those universities are run by these families in order to hide the truth, you admitted yourself you're going to go to a hospital when you have a heart attack to go to a doctor that went to the same school as an astrophysicist who
Well, let's
and
not get it confused, right? There's a whole different schooling that goes into doctoring versus astrophysicists, and the difference is that with health, it's stuff that you can actually see, touch, feel, and actually do experiments where you can isolate variables and all that shit. When we're talking with astrophysicists, again, by their own admission, it's guesswork, it's mathematics, it's flying by the seat of their pants.
but when it comes to the shape of the Earth, it most definitely isn't.
I mean,
You might say, "Oh, how do we know the pillars of creation are this far away?" Now they're going to tell you, "Hey, we've done spectroscopy, redshift, all of this stuff that we can do on Earth and we can prove works on Earth, so we know these measurements are accurate." You guys aren't going to accept that. But when it comes, the reason scientists aren't debating the shape of the Earth unless they're on TikTok and say, "Hey, I know I can prove this," is because the shape of the Earth has been proven. So many different sciences prove it. Seismology proves it. The way seismic waves roll through the Earth after a earthquake, and the way they're picked up by seismometers, and their return from around the Earth can only be done on a globe,
yeah, I don't believe
and
that at
that
all.
happens every single day.
I think there's a lot of things like that people just believe only work on a globe because that's what they've been told. But I mean, if you literally just thought about it with common sense for a second, I mean, it should be easy to see, regardless of what shape the Earth is. If there's an earthquake, you're going to be able to pick it up from different locations. You're going to be able to pick up the magnitude. I don't see how the shape of the Earth is going to affect
the shape of the waves, how quickly they return, and the way they return.
So you've
It's not
shot.
just the fact that
So you've
it's
seen
not
people
just
actually shoot waves through like a flat surface, and then you've seen them shoot it through a ball surface and be like, "Oh yeah, we can totally see that this is how they would act."
seismologists have. That's the way they can
I've only
see.
ever
My
seen seismologists replicate
my
earthquakes
thing
over
is,
flat surfaces. I've
I
never
don't
seen
need
them
to
do it over a
see
ball.
I don't need to see things to believe them all the time. I actually trust, like, I know I'm an expert in photography. I know that anyone that comes to me about photography and wants to say, "Nuh-uh, this isn't true, this isn't true," I know they're full of shit because I can prove them wrong. I also believe the people that built my electric car, I have no clue. If I tore that car apart, I'd have no clue what the hell's going on in there. But I know somebody else did, and I trust them. I drove from my house to Orlando without touching the damn steering wheel. Somebody knew what the hell they
The
were doing.
problem is, though, is that with all those things, those are things that are capitalism has to provide service for you, has to have something that works, has to have something tangible. There is nothing tangible that comes from space or any of the $65 million a day that we shovel out to it, and the level of evidence that they
Sure, there
provide
is.
for the.
There's tons. Your phone is from
No, phones
technology
work
that
off of
came
ground
from.
technology. That's admitted fact.
No, the technology that went into building our smartphones came from.
Please tell me it came from outer space so I could laugh my ass off. You have
I'm not
no.
saying it came from outer space. I'm saying it came from the science that is being conducted by these space agencies.
There's. You can't tell me, and I'm almost certain that there's no way that you can verify that the work that they've done with space is the reason why our cell phones are working the way they work today.
A lot of the things we have in
Like
life
what?
came from, well, Velcro, Tang
Velcro. No,
were
that's
two of the ones
okay.
early on
Okay,
in the
so
space
let's give
agency.
it to you. You have Velcro and you have Tang.
Right.
After $65 million a day, and that's the best we got from NASA.
And I have talked to many engineers, many scientists that say people that deny the space system, the space agencies, when they're talking on their cell phone, is hilarious to us because we know all of the technology that went into the device they're using. actually was helped to be developed by the space agencies.
Yeah, I just don't see how them doing things in space has anything to do with our cell phone, the way that our
Because
cells work.
they have to push technology further than it's ever been pushed
So
before
you're
in
just
order to be able to
so
do what they're
far you've
doing.
only talked in basically platitudes with regard to that. My phone's got 5% battery. It's gonna die any second. So let's make our last little points, and we'll pick this up tomorrow, same time, 9 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, it's I have met so many. I have literally been at NASA watching them build a satellite. I have been in not just a tour guide, literally there while they built TESS, which was used for and is still being used for exoplanet exploration. I have seen a lot of the stuff that everybody claims that they know about. You know what they didn't put on that? A weather balloon. They actually launched it. I watched the launch. Like and as far as not having anything tangible from space, I know what you're going to say, but we actually have lunar rocks that have been proven to come from the moon by thousands of scientists across the world. That one that was given away as a present and claimed to be a moon rock that happened to be petrified wood just came from some dude that was trying to be cool, trying to have some clout. Oh, look, I'm going to give you this big present. And he lied about it.
I mean,
All the other ones have been proven to be real
I thought
and
that
not to have come from Earth.
I thought that it was literally something from Neil Armstrong to the what was it,
No,
Prime
it
Minister
wasn't
of
from Neil
Sweden?
Armstrong. It was a what do they call those guys? It was an ambassador who gave it to some other lower level dude in the government. Of it wasn't like an ambassador to a president. It was like an ambassador to a secretary of
Mm.
blah blah blah.
Well, even
But it
despite
wasn't Neil
that,
Armstrong.
what about the scientists that were saying that the moon rocks were found that they found moon rocks in Antarctica?
I have never heard of that.
I'll see if I can put a post on it. This was something I heard like 2 years ago, so that's not super fresh, but I'll see if I can find something on that. Yeah, I've heard multiple stories with the moon rocks. I don't really believe that at all. And even if I'll even level it, even if it wasn't something found anywhere else on Earth yet, I would still say that that's not